Forward to the chapter of wisdom. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. Fame knows no bounds, business opportunities are limitless, learning is infinite, and wisdom is vast. Just as steel becomes harder with an increase in carbon content, people become wiser with the growth of wisdom. Knowledge is acquired, while wisdom is cultivated. Knowledge is a summary of experience. Wisdom is a product of thought. Knowledge represents the branches, twigs, and leaves. Wisdom is the fragrant flowers and abundant fruits. Archimedes used his wisdom to repeatedly thwart the powerful Roman army's advances. Bill Gates, through his wisdom, ushered humanity into the age of networking. The Buddha remains immortal through his wisdom, and Jesus shines with a divine halo because of his wisdom. Oh, wisdom! You are the symbol of strength, the source of wealth, the bridge to the mysterious, and the touchstone for distinguishing truth from falsehood. You are both the fierce storm and the bright spring sun, both the weapon of the devil and the arm of the angel, both the olive branch that transforms swords into plowshares and the smoke of war in times of chaos. A mind without wisdom is like a barren desert, pale and desolate. A mind with wisdom is like a beautiful landscape, full of splendor. Nature is mesmerizing and captivating due to its ever-changing phenomena. People are admirable for their rich wisdom. Seeking wealth is not as valuable as seeking wisdom. Wealth is lifeless, while wisdom is alive. Wealth may disperse when a person dies, but wisdom shines even more brightly upon one's death. Wealth can be stolen, lost, or robbed, but wisdom always accompanies its owner, illuminating their life. Wisdom is boundless and inexhaustible. By engaging in deep thought and research, wisdom emerges from all phenomena. Through meditation and reflection, wisdom can arise at any time and place. Wisdom can transform decay into magic, give wings to thought, serve as the lever to move the earth, and act as the rainbow spanning time and space. It is the warm sun in winter, the cool breeze in summer, the flowers of spring, the fruits of autumn, the oasis in the desert, the willows in the Gobi, the torch rising in the darkness, and the scattered islands in the vast ocean. People become great because of wisdom, broad-minded due to wisdom, rich in depth because of wisdom, and have a promising future due to wisdom. Conversely, people are impoverished due to a lack of wisdom, incomprehensible because of a lack of wisdom, drifting and unstable because of a lack of wisdom, and their life become dull and colorless without wisdom. The source of wisdom comes from the greatest creator. Only by following the way of the greatest creator can one cultivate boundless wisdom. Wisdom that benefits humanity originates from reverence for the greatest creator, reverence for life, and reverence for nature. Wisdom that harms humanity stems from selfishness, greed, and lawlessness. The chapter of wisdom is but a small wave on the ocean of wisdom. Like the chapter of Revelations, its purpose is to inspire the thinking of Chanyuan celestials, guiding everyone into the magnificent palace of wisdom, appreciating the vast gentleness of the ocean of wisdom, experiencing the expansive brilliance of the space and time of wisdom, and climbing toward the highest realm of life and life under the illumination of the light of wisdom. Along the way, let us gather the pearls of happiness and extend our lives to the celestial islands continent of the Elysium world. 石头渡河, crossing the river as stones. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. Under the golden sunlight, the sky was vast, with light clouds drifting and a gentle breeze blowing. A great river sparkled as it flowed slowly. To the east of the river lay a boundless sandy beach, barren and lifeless, with only a few foxes coming to drink from the river in the evening. Occasionally, a lizard could be seen scurrying across the scorching pebbles in search of food, and crabs would sometimes crawl ashore, glance around, and then quickly dive back into the water. On the west side of the river, the scene was entirely different. Instead of a sandy beach, there was a lush wetland filled with herds of cattle and sheep, cranes dancing in the sky, frogs leaping about, and fish and shrimp swimming freely. The river was the boundary, and the scenery on either side was as different as heaven and earth, utterly contrasting. Whenever a light drizzle fell, white mist would spread, or when the clouds reflected the setting sun and a rainbow appeared faintly, a young stone on the eastern shore, named Shirtu, would fall into deep thought. He longed for the scenery on the other side and was tired of the lifeless sandy beach where his family had lived for generations. He wanted to go to the other side, to enjoy the beautiful scenery on the west bank. One day, a torrential rainstorm mixed with hail came pouring down from the sky, causing little Shida's back to ache. He could no longer bear it and began to run wildly on the sandy beach, shouting as he ran, "I want to go to the other side. I want to go to the other side." After the rain stopped and the sky cleared, everything became tranquil again, but the sandy beach was in an uproar. Someone has a wild idea of going to the west side. Poor child, he must be crazy. Ignorance, sheer ignorance. What foolishness. This guy's brain is not normal. He should be sent to a mental hospital for treatment. Whose child is this? How can he talk such nonsense? He should be locked up in prison. We can't let him confuse people with his wild talk. We need to strengthen basic education, or the order of this great sandy beach will be disrupted by such delusional people. Finally, the ancient stone on the beach spoke up. We must hold a grand assembly for all the stones on the beach and invite our esteemed and wise scholars to educate the younger generation and save them from these wayward thoughts. The young stone who wanted to go to the other side was surrounded, and the wise stones began to bombard him with their wisdom. You want to go to the west side? Isn't that just wishful thinking? Have you ever heard of a stone crossing the river? Child, we can't entirely blame you. We elders haven't given you enough basic education. You must understand that if a stone tries to cross the river, it will inevitably drown. The weight of stones is greater than the buoyancy of the river's water, so stones cannot float on water. The conclusion is, stones cannot cross the river. Don't indulge in fantasies. Accept your fate. Stones are not birds. We cannot reach the other side. Poor little Shirtu was completely confused by the well-meaning education. He hung his head, tears welling up in his eyes, muttering only one sentence, "I just want to go to the west side," as he silently withdrew from the crowd to live in solitude. One day, a few stones of the same age came to find him. They also yearned for the life on the west side. They came to the riverbank and gazed at the picturesque scenery on the other side, and began to chatter excitedly among themselves. To cross the river, it's best to take a boat. To cross the river, it would be best if we could fly like birds. To cross the river, it would be best to ride on the back of a crab. To cross the river, it would be best if we hollowed out our insides. To cross the river, it would be best if a strong wind could carry us over to the other side. As they were fervently discussing, a few boys came by and stopped beside them. They were humans, perhaps drawn by the stone's strong will. One of the boys said to his companions, "Let's have a contest to see who can throw a stone across the river so that it skims the water's surface and reaches the other side." In an instant, these boys eagerly picked up stones at their feet and hurled them toward the other side of the river. Whoosh, swoosh, whoosh. One after another, the little stones skimmed the water's surface and flew across to the other side. Rumors quickly spread across the great sandy beach. Did you hear? It's said that those disobedient boys insisted on crossing the river and all drowned. Exactly. How could a stone possibly cross the river? It's no surprise they drowned. From now on, everyone must be vigilant. We must not allow fanciful ideas to take root, and we must prevent our children from going near the river. Living within our means is the key to a safe life. We stones can never cross the river. As the old saying goes, if you don't listen to the elders, you'll drown in the river. Can stones cross the river? Can humans reach the celestial island's continent? 我的6个小时上哪去了? Where did my 6 hours go? Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qinyu. Everyone has 24 hours in a day, or so we think. But hold on a moment. On April 30th, 2005, I only had 18 hours. Where did my other 6 hours go? On the evening of April 29th at 7 p.m., to make it easier to understand, I'll use rounded times. I boarded a Zimbabwean Airlines flight to Beijing. After an overnight flight, I arrived at Beijing International Airport at 12 p.m. on April 30th, a total flight time of 17 hours. Here's where things get tricky. 12 p.m. on April 30th was the time on my watch, but Beijing time was already 6 p.m. To keep things simple, I had to adjust my watch to 6 p.m. And just like that, I ended up with only 18 hours on April 30th, with 6 hours that should have belonged to me disappearing. So, where did they go? Of course, this was caused by the time zone difference. But regardless, in terms of human conceived time, I only lived 18 hours that day. Now let's speculate. The time difference is caused by horizontal space. Different horizontal spaces have different times. As long as we move from one space to another, we will inevitably gain or lose time. Using Earth as the origin, let's draw a coordinate axis. The x-axis represents the east, the y-axis represents the west, the n-axis represents the north, and the s-axis represents the south. Now, if we travel eastward along the x-axis, we will lose time. If we travel westward, we will gain time. For example, if we fly from Beijing to Zimbabwe in one day, we could have 30 hours that day. If we travel northward or southward, we neither gain nor lose time. Interesting, isn't it? Let's think further. Traveling from Zimbabwe to Beijing in one day results in a loss of 6 hours. If we take 2 days to get to Beijing, how many hours will we lose? Still 6 hours, of course. By analogy, even if it takes a year to get to Beijing, the lost time is still 6 hours. Here's a fact theory. When science surpasses people's understanding, it turns into superstition. Lifechanuan's 36-dimensional spaces have both surpassed people's imagination and transcended their understanding. So they have become an absurdity, and people view them as an intangible theory. If we can compress a day into 18 hours or compress a year in, similarly, if we can expand a day to 30 hours or stretch a day into 365 days, why can't we expand a day into 100,000 years? Flying along the x-axis, we can reach the 1,000-year world and the 10,000-year world. Flying along the y-axis, we can reach the Elysium world. Flying along the n-axis and s-axis, we can only reincarnate in place, stuck in a loop. We need speed. With speed, stones can cross rivers, and humans can reach the Celestial Islands continent. A carriage is faster than walking, a car is faster than a carriage, and an airplane is faster than a car. A spaceship is faster than an airplane, but even if we could sit on a light-speed spaceship, it would still be too slow. So, what kind of flying tool should we use? Think about it. If we constantly ponder the mysteries of heaven and earth, the wondrous truths will one day reveal themselves. I want to ask everyone, what kind of person do you think Xiefeng is? Kongling Xiu. Emptiness, spirit, grace. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. The void holds myriad phenomena, and within the void, myriad phenomena exist. When the mind is empty, spiritual energy arises. When spirit arises, a person becomes graceful. Chanyuan celestials, born from spiritual mountains, embody emptiness, spirit, and grace, filling the heavenly garden. The masses are weighed down, their hearts filled with rubbish. Though they appear lively, they are actually confused beings. They have ears but do not listen. They have eyes but do not see. I have just said 1, and they continue with 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All I can do is shake my head and sigh. Stones do not bloom, yet the sky creates colorful clouds. Fruits ripen and decay, yet the empty land can grow crops. An empty house is useful, and an empty heart reveals a bright celestial realm. Empty your heart, throw away yourself, and clarity will emerge. When flowers are fragrant, butterflies come naturally. When the mind is calm, thoughts flow effortlessly. When the body is clean, illness departs on its own. When the heart is pure, celestial beings arrive. As long as the heart is empty, the true result will naturally come early. Fear of death, fear of poverty, fear of loneliness, fear of solitude. All arise because the heart is not empty. Worry, anger, madness, hatred, all stem from an unemptied heart. Anxiety, fear, terror, and dread come from a heart that is not empty. Desiring to stand out, to bring honor to one's ancestors, to dominate the world, to leave a legacy. All are signs of a heart that is not empty. When the heart is not empty, everything becomes empty. When seeking to possess, in the end, nothing is gained. The principle is simple, but practicing it is as difficult as reaching heaven. Emptiness allows possession of all things, while non-emptiness is like chasing fleeting clouds. Whatever you think about will come as long as your mind is sincere. Whatever you fear will come as long as your mind is restless. Do not be a good person, nor a bad person. Do not do good deeds, nor evil deeds. Do not seek truth, nor falsehood. Return to your true nature, for true nature is the nature of the Tao. Entering the Tao brings life. The Tao is empty, and it controls all beings. Buddha is empty, and Buddhist laws govern the universe. Oh, humans, if your hearts are not empty, how can you attain the Tao and become a Buddha? Throughout history, sages have sought emptiness and ultimately accomplished their lives. Common people have always sought gold and ended up with an illusory life. Mountains have spirit and vegetation flourishes. Waters have spirit and fish and turtles abound. The sky has spirit and the weather is favorable. The earth has spirit and all things thrive. Humans have spirit and their charm is infinite. Oh, humans, quickly seek spirit. Without spirit, one is no better than an earthworm. Greed, laziness, anger, and hatred all arise because spirit has not touched the heart. Poverty and suffering throughout life also stem from a heart without spirit. Seeking spirit is not difficult. Just enter Life Genuine, and the method is simple. Fill your heart with the knowledge of the greatest creator. The most beautiful people in the world are in Life Genuine. Foshan, Taiji, Penglai celestials are flawless. Bailing, Wanyan, Qianyan celestial shine with a spiritual light. Xianhe, Lingji, Shueshan celestials are like treasure mountains. In the world, who can compare to the celestials of Chanyuan? Wherever there is spirit, there is grace. The bright moon shines among the pine trees, and the clear spring flows over the rocks. The gentle breeze blows, colorful clouds fill the sky. The warm sun paints the forest shade, and the reefs and sea waves harmonize, creating scenes that resemble the images of heaven shared by Wanyan celestial. Grace is fragrant and alluring, captivating the soul. Grace is like a celestial peach, tempting to the taste. I love grace, the graceful wilderness, the graceful rivers and streams, the graceful blue sky, and the graceful people. Grace is not heavy makeup, but simple elegance. Grace is not flamboyant, but simple and pure. Grace is not a storm, but a gentle drizzle. Grace is not fiery passion, but a love that cannot be severed. To live among the Chanyuan celestials is to live within grace, lightly loving, deeply longing. If you wish to become a celestial, strive to find the space of emptiness, spirit, and grace. If you wish to become a celestial, you must plan your life around emptiness, spirit, and grace. If you wish to become a celestial, spread your love to the world. If you wish to become a celestial, join in building Life Genuine. 务虚与务实 Balancing the abstract and the concrete. Xiefeng, July 12, 2005. Translation edited by Qin Yu. Abstract refers to the non-material, intangible, elusive, unseen, unheard, untouchable, and without a trace. Concrete refers to substances that are tangible, practical, and can be seen, heard, touched, and traced. The abstract belongs to the realm of the spirit and mind. The concrete belongs to the realm of physical existence and practical use. Focusing on the abstract means pursuing ideals and beliefs, adhering to faith and morality, emphasizing consciousness and spirit, and elevating character and quality. Focusing on the concrete means pursuing practical value, primarily aiming to fulfill the material conditions necessary for basic survival, such as food, clothing, shelter, transportation, sexual desire, and safety. The lower a life's level, the more it focuses on the concrete. The more it focuses on the concrete, the lower the quality of life. Focusing on the concrete is for survival. The higher a life's level, the more it focuses on the abstract. The more it focuses on the abstract, the higher the quality of life. Focusing on the abstract is for living. The abstract and the concrete are opposites yet unified. Neither should be neglected. Survival is the foundation for better living. Living is the sublimation for better survival. To walk the way of the greatest creator, one must balance both the abstract and the concrete. The concrete ensures survival, while the abstract elevates the quality of life, leading to a higher level of existence. The concrete provides the conditions for focusing on the abstract, and the abstract fulfills the qualities of a celestial being. Ordinary people are ordinary primarily because they focus on the concrete all their lives, neglecting the abstract. Those who go to extremes in spiritual practice, neglecting the issues of food, clothing, shelter, transportation, safety, and sexual desire, mainly focus on the abstract while neglecting the concrete. The wise are those who appropriately balance the abstract and the concrete, neglecting neither. Celestial beings are those who have fully experienced life, solve the problem of survival, and then spend much of their time focusing on the abstract. Those who purely focus on the abstract are either gods or demons. There was a pig, deeply engrossed in reading. The other pigs in the pen couldn't understand and asked, "Brother, we have no worries about food and drink. Our master feeds us, and we live so freely and happily. Why bother yourself with reading and thinking?" The reading pig replied meaningfully, "If we don't read and think, we will always be pigs. If we don't read and think, we can only have contentment, not happiness. Contentment is short-lived, while happiness is long-lasting. Contentment comes from temporary satisfaction, while happiness comes from enduring peace of mind. Think about it. We spend our lives confined in this pig pen, with only a small patch of sky to look at, and just a few square meters to move around in. The worst part is that once we're fattened up, the slaughterhouse is our only destination. Thinking of this, I can't be content. To avoid this disaster, I must read. Forget it, brother. Live for today. We are pigs, after all, and slaughter is our fate. Accept it, the other pigs said. Brothers, you focus on the concrete and be content. I will focus on the abstract. I don't want to be a pig anymore. I want to become human because only humans can find true happiness, the reading pig said firmly. Can a pig become a human? Asked one thoughtful pig. The reading pig replied, yes, absolutely. Once I have human thoughts, I am no longer a pig but a human. Even if you have human thoughts, can you escape the disaster of being slaughtered? The pig continued to ask. The reading pig said decisively, the evolution from pig to human is gradual. In this life, I am still a pig, unable to avoid disaster, but in the next life, I won't be a pig anymore. I will become a human because the saints among humans say that the form of life corresponds to the way of thinking. If I have human thoughts, I will have a human form of existence. In fact, when I realize that I will be a human in the next life, I already feel a sense of happiness. Sometimes, I even hope the disaster comes quickly, so I can end this life as a pig and start living as a human. The reading pig continued speaking to the group of pigs. Brothers, in the next life, you will still be pigs, but I will appear before you in human form. Brother, you make sense? I want to be a human too. Being a pig truly doesn't bring happiness, the thoughtful pig said, as if having an epiphany. The reading pig quietly told it, while we have food and shelter, seize the time to focus on the abstract. If you don't focus on the concrete, you won't have a comfortable life, and poverty is unpleasant. If you don't focus on the abstract, the best you can hope for is to stay where you are. Pigs will remain pigs, and humans will remain humans. 避免小负荷能量的长期冲击. Avoid the long-term impact of small load energy. Xiefeng, February 14, 2007. Translation edited by Qin Yu. When studying metal materials, our teacher took us to the Zhangjiago Exploration Machinery Factory for a first-hand observation of metal material property testing. A series of testing machines were used to evaluate the tensile strength, compressive strength, bending strength, and other properties of various metals, determining the limit values of each characteristic. For example, a metal rod would be tested to see how much force it could withstand before breaking, or how long it could endure repeated small load impacts before eventually fracturing. I've forgotten the specific parameters, but I remember this. No matter how tough the metal, if subjected to continuous small load impacts, it will eventually break. This truly reflects the saying, "A rope saws through wood, and water drops pierce stone." Even seemingly insignificant forces, when applied consistently over time to an object, person, or principle, will eventually lead to a significant change. A one-time heavy blow can destroy a person, leaving them unable to recover. However, it is often the unnoticeable small load impacts that are the primary culprits in ruining a person's life. A tiny grain of sand in a shoe can stop someone from moving forward, and a small speck of dust in the eye can make it impossible to open. A bedridden loved one can cause someone to abandon their grand ambitions and plans, and a single point of pain in the body can instantly erode a person's confidence. A pure river can become polluted by one factory discharging a little sewage here and another factory dumping some waste there, eventually making the river impure. A clean street can become filthy if one person spits here and another person throws a bit of garbage there. A perfect natural environment can be degraded by one factory emitting smoke, another dumping trash, one car emitting carbon dioxide, and a refinery spilling waste oil. Eventually, nature will fall ill. A person with a healthy and positive mindset may lose their optimism after facing constant criticism, gossip, fault-finding, and nagging from others. Over time, they may lose their positivity and even begin to doubt themselves. An anthill, though small, can cause the collapse of a 1,000-mile-long dike if not blocked in time. A tiny pinhole in a gas pipe, if not discovered and repaired promptly, can lead to a catastrophic disaster. A seemingly harmless family thief who steals small amounts daily, if not caught and stopped in time, can eventually steal the entire household. In a harmonious group, a person who spreads rumors may seem harmless at first, but if not exposed and dealt with in time, they can turn harmony into conflict, causing the group to fall apart and leading to irreparable damage. As the saying goes, one rotten apple spoils the whole barrel. Life is not easy, but what usually breaks a person is not external difficulties or harsh conditions, but the constant impact of small load forces from within. It's not a single blow that drives someone to suicide, but rather the continuous small load impacts that lead to self-destruction. The Sutra of Land's Celestial Beings says, "Avoid anger at dawn. It harms the lungs and damages the liver." This means that one should not frequently lose their temper in the morning. A person who often feels upset in the morning will have shortness of breath and poor liver function, leading to a day of low energy or mental exhaustion. Therefore, within a family or group, members should avoid criticizing or nitpicking each other in the morning. Instead, they should encourage and uplift each other in the morning and save any dissatisfaction for the afternoon or evening. To prevent the continuous impact of small load energy, husbands and wives, parents and children, siblings, friends, and colleagues should avoid frequently criticizing and nitpicking each other. Long-term exposure to even a few hurtful words can lead to declining health, the collapse of family or business, broken relationships, lost confidence, and the destruction of a person's future and life. In life, one must maintain a positive, optimistic, and determined spirit. Even in the face of difficulties and adversity, one must not lose confidence and courage. As the saying goes, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, and heaven never seals off all the exits. Therefore, it is essential to avoid and guard against those who are often pessimistic and constantly nagging and spreading pessimistic views. My advice is to say goodbye to those who frequently criticize and nitpick, and goodbye to those who keep nagging and spreading pessimistic views, because they are the small load energies that may seem insignificant but can eventually break an iron rod. 仇人即是恩人还债之道. Enemies are benefactors, the path of repaying debts. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. The vast, distant heavens know my heart. The myriad gods in the darkness know my name. The operation of the sun and moon is aware of my deeds. The most just entity in the universe is the Tao of the greatest creator. This Tao sees everything with perfect clarity, rewarding and punishing with meticulous precision. When we calm our minds and reflect, we may wonder what causes us to be born into a specific family and environment, what leads us to our current circumstances, and why we encounter certain people, whether they should be in our lives or not. We often feel powerless against our present circumstances, as if we are drifting in the wind with no control over our destiny. All of this is due to the combination of causes and conditions, which may seem chaotic and random. Yet, in reality, everything we experience, whether in prosperity or adversity, happiness or suffering, is a result of our past words and actions, including those from previous lives. The outcomes we face today stem from the seeds we have sown in the past. You reap what you sow. If you want a life free of worries, cultivate yourself diligently. If we hadn't incurred karmic debts in this world, we wouldn't be here. A person's life is essentially a process of repaying debts. As long as these debts remain unpaid, we cannot leave this world. Without understanding this principle, one's life is bound to be lost in confusion, becoming just another ordinary existence among the masses. The wisest way to live is to repay one's debts to the greatest extent possible and to avoid incurring any new debts, which means doing only good deeds and avoiding wrongdoing. In human history, Jesus and Buddha Shakyamuni did this best. Jesus repaid his debts by sacrificing his blood and performing countless good deeds, even atoning for his disciples' sins. Buddha Shakyamuni spent decades teaching and enlightening countless sinners, filling the universe with his merits. They no longer owed any debts to the human world, which is why Jesus became a god and Shakyamuni became a Buddha. In the mythological novel Fengshen Yini, The Investiture of the Gods, Neza tore out his intestines and carved out his bones to repay the debts he owed to his parents, ultimately reincarnating as a lotus flower and becoming a minor god in heaven. In the novel Journey to the West, the Monkey King, Sun Wukong, underwent 81 trials and tribulations to repay his debt to the monk Tang Sanzang, who had saved his life. Even when unjustly accused by Tang Sanzang after the incident with the white-bone demon, Sun Wukong, despite his anger, knelt to the monk, striving to repay his debt. Jesus taught us that if someone strikes us on the left cheek, we should turn the other cheek to them. Buddha Shakyamuni earnestly advised that if we are despised by the world, our previous sins will be eradicated. Even Mao Zedong taught that the humblest are often the wisest, while the noble are the most foolish. The celestial Laozi taught that to save and help someone, the Tao must first let them endure suffering. Now, let's consider how to repay our debts. We are born between heaven and earth, absorbing the essence of the sun and moon, the vitality of heaven and earth, and enjoying the caress of nature. Thus, we owe a debt to nature. To repay this, we need only be grateful and refrain from spoiling it. We live in society, protected by its laws and constitution, which means we owe a debt to society. To repay this, we must avoid opposing the government. Our life comes from the greatest creator, so we owe a debt to the greatest creator. To repay this, we must follow the way of the greatest creator. Our physical bodies come from our parents, whose love and care are as high as mountains and as deep as the sea. We owe them a debt, which we repay by dutifully honoring them. If we have a master who has enlightened us, guiding us onto the path of life, we owe them a debt, which we repay by expressing our gratitude. Other debts beyond these great obligations must be repaid precisely. Mere gratitude or thanks is insufficient. First, let's address the debts between spouses. Husband and wife are like birds in the same forest, but they fly apart when disaster strikes. When the end of life approaches, it's too late to repay debts. Therefore, we should endure more of our partner's frustrations during everyday life, giving them as much freedom as possible. Even if we end up with a green hat, infidelity, we shouldn't hold grudges or seek retribution. Instead, we should feel joyful. Why? Because such debts can be canceled, freeing us to follow our own path. Next are the debts owed to our children. Children are our creditors by nature, born into our families to collect their debts. We should repay these debts with no complaints, with wholehearted effort, and with joy. There's no room for bargaining. Just give without expecting anything in return. Whether or not they honor us is their business. The less filial they are, the more thoroughly we repay our debts. Even if we end up starving, dying of illness, or without anyone to bury us, we should accept it with no resentment. The humbler our death, the more honorable our life. Then there are the debts owed to siblings, relatives, friends, and strangers. We must strive to repay these debts promptly, without taking even the smallest advantage. As the saying goes, taking advantage of others is harmful, just like radishes are just vegetables. There's no such thing as a free lunch in the world. It is better to give more than to receive, and it is preferable to die without debts than to live a long life with them. Live as long as you can, but if you can't continue, Simply sit cross-legged and quietly await the arrival of death and the welcoming of celestial beings. Lastly, we must repay the debts owed to poultry, livestock, and animals. We benefit from the kindness of animals, whether they bring us joy, help us with work, provide us with food, or supply us with materials for clothing, shelter, and transportation. Even though this is all part of creation's arrangement, a debt is still a debt. Humanity has not yet reached the greatness of being able to take the lives of animals at will. As seekers of the Tao, we regard all life equally, so we must repay our debts to them. How? By not mistreating any animal, big or small, and by not killing innocent animals unnecessarily. We should treat them with compassion and sympathy, offer them love, and when we eat their flesh, silently pray for their liberation from the cycle of reincarnation and wish them a swift rebirth in the Western Pure Land. If you do nothing that troubles your conscience during the day, you won't be startled if someone knocks on your door in the middle of the night. If you live your whole life without wronging others, you are destined to ascend to paradise. In addition to the ways mentioned above, there's another channel for repaying debts by treating your enemies as benefactors. If someone bullies, oppresses, abuses, or torments us, they are, in fact, helping us repay our debts through their wrongdoing. This is something to be welcomed. We should gratefully accept their actions. Benefactors are enemies, and enemies are benefactors. Benefactors keep us bound to the mortal world, while enemies help us break free from it. For those who seek the Tao, good is evil, and evil is good. Without others' evil, we cannot achieve our own goodness. The more foolish people there are, the more opportunities there are for us to become a celestial being or a Buddha. Repay debts in all aspects of life, and you will gain the Tao in all aspects. Abandon everything completely, and you will gain everything completely. Are seekers of the Tao foolish? The clearest and most astute minds belong to those who seek the Tao. 空间与仇恨, Space and Hatred. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qinyu. After the SARS epidemic, I overheard a conversation among a few people. One of them, a beautiful woman in her 30s, remarked, "How did this SARS just pass by? It would have been better if it had wiped out a few billion people." I asked her, "Why would you hope for billions to die from SARS?" She responded, "There are too many people. How can we survive?" This is a typical example of hatred caused by limited space. In a coop that can accommodate 10 chickens, if there are only 5 or 6, they will live in harmony. But if there are more than 10, violent conflicts between the chickens often occur. In an overcrowded mouse nest, you can often hear the sound of mice fighting. When there are too many bees in a hive, a queen bee will emerge, initiating a splitting activity. In a family, if the population grows too large, complaints and quarrels will inevitably occur, leading naturally to family division. A cramped living space will inevitably lead to hatred among living beings. If this hatred is not resolved in time, it will eventually result in murder. Bees can split and families can divide, but what happens when there is no more space to divide? In other words, although this Earth, which already holds 6.5 billion people, has not yet reached the critical point of mutual killing, the cramped space has already caused governments and citizens to feel an indescribable oppression. This is especially true in populous countries like China, where the fight for survival space begins in early childhood. This is why the woman at the beginning hoped that SARS could eliminate some of the population. Hatred caused by limited space can no longer be judged by moral standards of good and evil. Everyone wants to survive and hopes to live better. This desire for a better life inevitably leads to the plundering of resources and the occupation and invasion of space, which in turn causes pollution of water, land, and air. This pollution leads to a vicious cycle, further shrinking the living space. The smaller the space, the fiercer and more brutal the competition for survival. Humanity must find a solution. If not, plagues, wars, famine, disasters, earthquakes, and floods will accompany theft, robbery, kidnapping, occupation, and murder in quick succession. This is called nature. At the same time, there is another risk, which is the forced purification by divine beings. Years ago, I had a dog named Larry. After mating with a neighbor's dog, Larry gave birth to 11 puppies. Initially, the puppies ran around the yard, bringing vitality and joy, but as they grew, trouble followed. First, they fought over food, then their droppings were everywhere, and eventually, I could not walk through the yard. The 12 dogs competed for my attention, surrounding me so tightly that I couldn't move. Dogs are particularly jealous. To win my favor, they started biting each other. What was even worse was that once the door opened, they would rush out, scaring passers-by, especially children who would scream. I had no choice but to give away 6 of them. The remaining 6 were still not easy to handle. Although the number was reduced, the problems persisted. I had to give away a few more until only 3 were left, and the yard finally became peaceful. I concluded that my yard could only accommodate 3 dogs. Once the number exceeded 3, the number of dogs and the yard size did not match. For the dogs that were given away, they couldn't understand why I had to clean them out, but for me, I knew why I had to remove them from my yard. I was forced to implement a forced purification. In a large yard, keeping a few dogs is my choice, but dogs have their nature. They need to mate and reproduce. Preventing them from mating and reproducing is too cruel, but if they mate too often and have too many offspring, the space cannot accommodate them. The result is forced purification. Humans should be more rational than dogs and should be able to foresee crises. If everyone acts according to their own will, considering only the individual and not the whole, calculating only for the part and not planning for the whole, the result will be to force the divine beings to implement forced purification, to resolve the current crisis of overpopulation and limited space, and to avoid the mutual hatred among humans caused by limited space and the ensuing catastrophe. Humanity must live and produce according to the theories of Life Genuine. But this is just wishful thinking, a fantasy, even a delusion. What should be done? We must take a long-term view and lead those who understand the truth out of the narrow space of competition. As for the rest, leave it to fate. 信即真理，爱即生命. Faith is truth, love is life. Xiefeng. August 16, 2005. Translation edited by Qin Yu. Faith is truth. In Article 57 of the chapter of Revelation, truth is explained as the way of the greatest Creator. Walking the way of the greatest Creator is walking the path of truth. However, this explanation might still seem vague and elusive, making the concept appear broad and mysterious. To bring it closer to reality and help us understand truth more clearly, I will express it differently. Truth is faith. Humanity has always pursued truth, and people often say, we must uphold the truth. Now, people should understand that truth is faith, and truth is the way of the greatest Creator. Faith is a state of resonance within the soul, a meticulous and rigorous thinking structure, a perfectly symmetrical system capable of instant reaction. Faith is an attribute of the greatest Creator, the essence of gods and Buddhas, the quality of celestial beings, and the pursuit of sages. Many people have saved themselves through faith. The New Testament of the Bible contains numerous examples illustrating this. As long as a person has genuine faith, any illness, whether blindness, leprosy, or paralysis, can be healed without treatment. There was a woman who had suffered from uterine bleeding for decades. Because of her faith, she touched the hem of Jesus' garment, and her illness was healed instantly. Faith not only heals, but can also bring the dead back to life. Jesus is the embodiment of faith, and he clearly tells us that with faith, a person could uproot a tree and plant it in the sea. Jesus often expressed frustration with us, saying, "You of little faith." His disciples went out to preach and often returned without success, and Jesus would say they had little faith. Even Peter, who had the greatest faith, wanted to walk on water when he saw Jesus doing so. When he first stepped onto the water, he walked a few steps because of his strong faith. But when he saw the towering waves around him, fear took hold, and his faith quickly diminished. As his faith waned, he could no longer walk on water and began to sink. Jesus called him a man of little faith. If Peter had maintained his faith, if he had faced the stormy waves with calm confidence, he would not have sunk. Buddha Shakyamuni also said that if a person has genuine faith in the Diamond Sutra, they can become a Buddha. If they reach the state of formlessness, they can become a true bodhisattva. I, Xiefeng, have high hopes for many people, referring to them as masters, great ones, saints, messengers, and angels. If these people have genuine faith, they can quickly elevate their wisdom and spiritual awareness under my guidance and become true masters and saints in a very short time. But without faith, they are nothing. In psychology, there is a term called the Pygmalion effect, which can also explain this mystery. There was a Zen master who, in gratitude for a disciple who had served him diligently for over 30 years, respectfully called him Buddha one morning. However, this disciple had no understanding of Zen. When the master called him Buddha, he didn't acknowledge it. Because he lacked faith, he failed to attain sudden enlightenment and become a Buddha. If you don't acknowledge yourself as a Buddha, you will never become one. Even in daily life, faith plays a tremendous role. For example, in a marriage, if a wife has unwavering faith in her husband's abilities and qualities, the family will be warm, harmonious, peaceful, and content, and its economic and social status will rise rapidly. If the wife constantly doubts her husband, has no confidence in him, and frequently complains and criticizes, the family will lack harmony and be in constant turmoil, and, in severe cases, may lead to separation or divorce. In extreme cases, it could even lead to the destruction of the family and the loss of lives. Do you understand now? Love is life. In the Life chapter, I have provided a relatively detailed revelation about life. Life is a non-material structure with spirituality. To those who understand, this is as obvious as a louse on a bald man's head, a clear fact. To those who don't understand, it's like trying to explain quantum physics to a cat, completely bewildering. To bring it closer to reality and make it easier to grasp, I will express it differently. Life is love. Life is a non-material structure, and the more perfect this structure, the higher the quality of life. And perfection is primarily manifested in love. The life of the greatest creator is the most perfect because he has great love. The lives of Jesus and Buddha Shakyamuni are highly perfect because they possess universal love. Jesus loved humanity with his blood, and Buddha Shakyamuni gave up a privileged life and endured hardship for 49 years to relieve humanity's suffering. Their lives are perfect lives. Love can purify the soul and make the structure of life more symmetrical and perfect. Those with Buddha eyes can see into the 36-dimensional spaces. By comparing the differences in life between the Pure Land, the 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, the human world, the animal world, the plant world, the netherworld, the frozen layer, and the inflamed layer, you will find that the differences in life at each level are primarily reflected in love. The amount, breadth, and depth of love are the most crucial factors determining which level of existence a life appears and exists in. Crude oil extracted from the earth becomes distinctly separated into light oil, gasoline, diesel, kerosene, and asphalt after refining. The purer it is, the higher its quality and the greater its usefulness. The more impurities it contains, the lower its quality and the less its usefulness. The same applies to people. Once refined with the balance of love, the true quality of the lives of gods, Buddhas, celestial beings, saints, sages, mortals, worldly people, and ignorant people is immediately revealed. To achieve a high-quality life, one must have love. The more love, the broader and deeper it is, the easier it is to ascend to higher life spaces. Conversely, the less love, the narrower and shallower it is, the easier it is to descend into lower life spaces. If there is not only a lack of love, but also the creation of hatred, one is bound to end up in hell, there's no doubt about it. Lovers in the throes of passionate love often say, "I only love you." I say, you are being foolish. Love the greatest creator. Love gods and Buddhas. Love nature. Love humanity. Love life. And love your enemies. You won't regret it. Understand? Mong Samana. What are you busy with? Xiefeng. August 16th, 2005. Translation edited by Qin Yu. Being busy is a hallmark of modern life. But what is the result of all this busyness? What are we actually busy with every day? Bill Gates is busy, President Bush was busy, CEOs of large companies are busy, street vendors are busy, workers and farmers are busy. Everyone is busy, but the outcomes are different. Being busy can be either a comedy or a tragedy. Whether it is one or the other depends on what we are busy with. Being busy in the pursuit of truth, goodness, beauty, and love is certainly a comedy, while being busy in the pursuit of fame, fortune, power, and personal desires is definitely a tragedy. Some people are busy for the sake of national and ethnic interests. Are their efforts worth it? No, they are not. They are busy blocking the progress of civilization, harming others for the benefit of a few. Many wars have been fought in the name of national and ethnic interests. If everyone prioritized national and ethnic interests over the interests of all humanity, these people would be the scourge of humanity. Being busy for the sake of national or ethnic interests is narrow-minded and short-sighted. Consider the small nations in China's history. They exhausted their resources and mobilized the entire population to engage in life-and-death struggles with neighboring countries, draining the people and the treasury. What was the final outcome? Unification. And that was good. One unified China is better than many small Chinas constantly fighting each other. By analogy, if this world had no nations, or if the entire Earth were one nation, wouldn't that be great? At least the people wouldn't need to support so many military personnel, and military expenditures could be eliminated. There would also be no need for so many administrative personnel, embassies, border guards, immigration offices, customs, and the like could be abolished, and visa procedures could be eliminated. Unification is better than division. In this sense, being busy for the sake of national or ethnic interests is contrary to the development of global civilization. Some people are busy with religious or political parties. Is that busyness worth it? No, it's not. Those who are busy with religion and political parties are actually narrow-minded, blind, selfish, and self-serving. Their busyness does not bring peace to the world, but rather disputes and chaos. Just think, if this world had no religions or political parties, wouldn't that create a more peaceful and harmonious environment? Some people are busy with their small families, working themselves to exhaustion. In the end, who remembers their grandfather? Which family can remain prosperous for generations? A lifetime of busyness for the sake of family might end up bringing not joy and happiness to future generations, but rather pain and misfortune. And what about the husband-wife relationship? It can dissolve at any time. There's no husband whose death would cause his wife to be unable to live, and no wife whose death would drive her husband to jump off a building. A home is a shackle, a cage, but people are deeply trapped in it, with no way out. Today is the era of the internet. Many people are busy online all day, writing articles, making comments, but they haven't thought that these are all fleeting like smoke. Some articles remain online for only a few hours before disappearing. Do we still hope that people will return to read those articles? Other than reading them ourselves, who has the time to go back and read? Every day, there are new articles to read. Who still reads outdated ones? Moreover, most articles do not bring truth, goodness, beauty, and love to people but rather anxiety, trouble, distress, and confusion. They create hatred and expose falsehood, evil, ugliness, and resentment, which is no different from garbage, except that this is cultural garbage, spiritual and mental garbage. Some people are busy making friends, attending meetings, gatherings, banquets, birthday celebrations, housewarming parties, weddings, and funerals. Is this joyful or sorrowful? The more worldly people you associate with, the more distress you will have. Is it really necessary to be busy with all this? Some people are busy learning knowledge, reading books and magazines, attending various classes and exams, which is very hard work just to make a living. I wonder, in ancient times, people didn't have so many opportunities to acquire knowledge, and they didn't have as much knowledge as we do today. But does that mean they lived unhappy, unfulfilled lives? There are some people whose busyness is indeed valuable because they are busy pursuing truth, goodness, beauty, and love. From this, they gain wisdom, true joy, and happiness, and they elevate the quality of their life. They not only fully enjoy the pleasures of life while they are alive, but also lay a foundation for a beautiful future life. Jesus taught us, what good is it to accumulate wealth on earth? Accumulate treasures in heaven. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. This kind of busyness is the only busyness that is truly valuable. Pursuing truth, goodness, beauty, and love is walking on the way of the greatest creator. We should constantly ask ourselves, What am I busy with? 孕育时间越长，果实越香. The longer the gestation, the sweeter the fruit. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. There's a folk saying, peach trees take 3 years, apricot trees take 4. But if you want to eat walnuts, you'll need to wait 18 years. This means that a peach tree bears fruit 3 years after being planted, and an apricot tree after 4 years. But to taste a walnut, you'll have to wait through 18 springs and autumns for the tree to bear fruit. The more valuable something is, the longer it takes to gestate. In Journey to the West, it is recorded that the ginseng fruit in the Wuzhuang Temple takes 3,000 years to bloom, another 3,000 years to bear fruit, and yet another 3,000 years for the fruit to ripen. If one could eat a ginseng fruit, they would live for 47,000 years. In the Queen Mother of the West's peach garden, the peaches in the front garden ripen once every 3,000 years. Eating one grants health, lightness of body, and immortality. The peaches in the middle garden ripen once every 6,000 years. Eating one grants eternal life and the ability to ascend to heaven. The peaches in the back garden ripen once every 9,000 years. Eating one bestows longevity equal to that of heaven and earth. People who are impatient to taste the fruit will never experience truly delicious fruit. If you sow the seed today and expect to eat the fruit tomorrow, that's called impatience. Some people don't even want to sow seeds and instead plot to get, deceive, steal, or rob the fruits of others' hard work. While there may be a chance of success in this world through such methods, and the lure of success without effort can tempt many to follow suit, the fruits they obtain this way will not be sweet and are likely to be toxic. Some people study Buddhism for 3 days and then expect to become a Buddha. When they don't achieve this in 3 days, they switch to studying the Bible. Before they even understand the basics of the Bible, they start preaching. But when they can't answer others' questions, they either stubbornly insist they're right, quoting a few lines from the Bible to show their steadfast faith, or they abandon the Bible altogether and never think about it again. These people only skim the surface and never grasp the true essence, and in the end, they might even dismiss the classics as useless. Entering a path is deeper than the ocean, and only those who immerse themselves in it can obtain the ocean's fruits. The problem is that few people are truly devoted to their studies, while many just skim the surface, seeking fame and fortune. This is the underlying cause of the restlessness in our current era. Tang Monk endured 81 hardships over 19 years, walking more than 50,000 miles to retrieve the Buddhist scriptures from the West. Through this long gestation period, he finally achieved true results and tasted the sweet fruits. Do modern people still have this kind of perseverance? They are unwilling to do even one day of voluntary work, always calculating immediate gains. If they don't see benefits within a few years or even a few months, they become discouraged and agitated, either giving up or cursing themselves for being foolish. In the past, there were disciples who could loyally follow their master for a lifetime. Do such disciples still exist today? No, people nowadays are practical, and no one wants to be foolishly loyal. However, faith can move mountains. Those who truly obtain the sweet fruit are the foolishly loyal ones like Tang Monk. There was once an eccentric man who gave an honest man a tree seed, telling him, "This is a seed I stole from the heavens. It will grow into a towering tree and will eventually bear fruit worth more than gold. Take good care of it." The honest man was overjoyed and planted the magical tree in fertile soil, tending to it day and night. A year passed, then another. The sapling grew to the height of the eaves, with lush green leaves, but it neither bloomed nor bore fruit. The honest man began to grow impatient. After 2 more years of waiting, his neighbors started mocking him. Some called him foolish, some said he was stupid, and others said he was mad. "You've been bewitched by a madman's words. There's no tree that bears fruit worth more than gold. You've been duped," they jeered, "wasting your time tending to a tree every day like a madman." The honest man felt deeply hurt, but he couldn't bear to give up, so he decided to wait a little longer. 6 more years passed, and still, the tree bore no fruit. His reputation as a fool had spread far and wide. One day, his patience reached its limit. Thinking of the 10 years of hard work and wasted time, he became furious and angrily raised an axe to chop down the tree. 2 years later, The eccentric man returned and asked the honest man, "Where's the tree?" The honest man, fuming with rage, shouted, "You're a big liar. I tended to that damn tree for 10 years, and it never bore any fruit, so I chopped it down." The eccentric man sighed and said, "You were too impatient. That tree needed 12 years to bear fruit. This year would have been its fruiting period. The fruit was the fruit of life, and eating it would have allowed you to ascend to immortality. What a pity, what a pity." With that, the eccentric man disappeared in a puff of smoke. Many miraculous fruits have vanished from the earth forever due to people's lack of faith and their eagerness for quick results. What a pity. Truly, what a pity. Life Genuine holds the secrets of life. Want to obtain them? Then, carefully cultivate the Life Genuine tree. 给生命增值. Adding value to life. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. In society, there is a common phenomenon. When someone moves to a new place for work or life, having a letter of introduction from a famous person or an important department can command immediate respect, making things easier. For instance, if you present a letter from the president's office, not only will ordinary people be impressed, but even a governor might show deference. Conversely, if your letter is from a local neighborhood office, you might not even get a meeting with the county chief, let alone the governor. Similarly, if you display a photo in your living room of yourself with President Bush or Bill Gates, people will view you with greater respect. However, if the photo is with a criminal, people will likely keep their distance, treating you with caution. This approach is a way to add value to one's life. The person hasn't changed, but with eye-catching packaging, others assume the content must be valuable. Just as an ordinary product's price can increase dramatically with exquisite packaging, a person in society can benefit from effective self-presentation. Good presentation not only enhances one's image, but also makes tasks easier. During my travels in China, whenever a taxi driver asked where my child was studying and I mentioned he was attending university in the United States, their attitude and tone would noticeably shift, as if my status and value had suddenly increased, allowing me to project a more dignified demeanor. Is this superficial? Not at all. The secular world thrives on such things. In fact, truthful self-presentation can not only enhance one's appearance, but also has a profound psychological impact, subtly increasing one's self-worth. Every time I think of friends like Taiji Celestial, Foshan Celestial, Penglai Celestial, and Tianshan Celestial, I feel a surge of pride and see myself as someone remarkable. Some people value the packaging more than the product itself. Is the packaging worthless? If Xiefeng becomes internationally renowned one day, my packaging will become very valuable. A certain Chanyuan Celestial might proudly say, "Xiefeng is my close friend. I can call him anytime." Appropriate self-presentation truly makes a difference. Why not embrace it? Adding value to one's life is about enjoyment. Life is essentially a game, so why not play it to the fullest? Only a fool would be overly serious and devoid of any sense of fun. However, if you can add value to your life, the significance becomes much greater. St. Peter and St. Paul were different from ordinary people, as were Guanyin Bodhisattva and Manjusri Bodhisattva, because of their special relationships with Jesus and Shakyamuni. Thus, their lives were imbued with greater value. Adding value to life goes beyond mere self-presentation or having fun. It's about enhancing the quality of one's life. Even the finest gem won't shine without being cut, polished, and refined. Even the best ivory won't become a masterpiece without careful carving. A blank sheet of paper has little value, but when a master artist paints landscapes, birds, and flowers on it, and adds deeply meaningful inscriptions, its value increases significantly. Anyone who has undergone the spiritual transformation of Life Genuine, whether they acknowledge it or not, has increased the value of their life. This is because their way of thinking has changed, leading to a transformation in the form of their life. Such a change is a sign of added value. Someone passionate about political commentary, once exposed to Life Genuine, may lose interest in it. An atheist who reads Life Genuine's writings might question their old worldview and life values. A religious devotee or a political party member who engages with Life Genuine will likely reflect on their beliefs. Someone skeptical about the future of life, after entering Life Genuine, will develop hope and anticipation for the future. If you believe you are valuable, you are. If you believe you are worthless, you are. A confident person can generate boundless spiritual strength. Someone aiming to change the world will find their wisdom suddenly emerging. A person striving to become a master will experience extraordinary inspiration. Someone with an infinite longing for life will surely find a true guide. One must become the architect and builder of their future life, actively seizing every opportunity to expand their knowledge. Avoid missing any divine opportunities. A foolish person clings to outdated practices, is timid and fearful, and prefers to remain in their comfort zone. They may cling to a precarious branch during a flood. When the greatest creator sends a boat to rescue them, they refuse to board. When the greatest creator sends a plane, they still refuse, stubbornly believing that the greatest creator himself will come to save them, with the inevitable result of being swept away by the flood. Some people spend their lives following a path that leads nowhere, yet they close their eyes and dare not try new paths. Others fear reading books with new ideas and new thinking, worried it might shatter their fragile beliefs. Such individuals, in the end, can only weep over their own missed opportunities and fail to add value to their lives. There is no fixed method or eternal remedy. If someone doesn't dare to associate with today's great minds, what progress can they make beyond muttering to themselves and whispering in secret? Some people don't understand the concept of truth, but still pursue it. Isn't that like a blind man lighting a candle to no avail? Where will you find the truth? Who wants to add value to their life? Enter Life Genuine, the only place of its kind. Don't wander aimlessly. The ship of life is at your doorstep. If you still refuse to board, don't blame the greatest creator, Jesus, or Shakyamuni for being unkind or unmerciful. 健康的秘诀, The Secret to Health. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. Humanity spends enormous amounts on preventing and treating diseases. Yet, no matter how advanced our medical technology becomes, we cannot prevent illnesses from occurring, nor can we stop the death of our physical bodies. In the chapter of Unconventional Thinking, I posed a question. Why don't wild animals train their own doctors? In the Elementary Health Preservation section of the Health Preservation chapter, I discussed 8 factors that lead to the weakening and death of living beings. Today, I will explain the secret to health. First, let's consider people with disabilities. We must ask, why do they become disabled? Is it merely due to factors like war, car accidents, plane crashes, medical errors, unfortunate falls, or fires? And when we look at people who frequently fall ill, we must also ask, why are they sick? Some people rarely get sick throughout their lives, while others are plagued by illness. What is the cause? Farmers know that seeds must be carefully selected for planting. The largest and fullest seeds are chosen for the next year's planting to ensure a good harvest. If the seeds are not full and plump, the crops will not grow well. For plants like beans, cucumbers, watermelons, and gourds, the seeds must be taken from the fruits closest to the stem, not from the ones farthest from it. Seeds near the stem will grow into plants that flower and bear fruit early, making efficient use of nutrients and time, leading to a good harvest. In contrast, seeds from the fruits far from the stem may produce plants that only grow long vines, taking a long time to flower and bear fruit. This not only wastes a lot of nutrients, but also delays the harvest, making it difficult to achieve a good yield. Now, think about why different flowers like peonies, roses, chrysanthemums, and crabapples are distinct from one another. Or why peach trees only produce peaches and apricot trees only produce apricots. Why do poplars grow straight while fruit trees spread out like showerheads? Why do beans twine as they grow? The answer is simple. Different life forms have different genetic structures, or different life structures, which lead to different life forms. The issue lies here. The life structure determines the life form. Factory mold makers understand that if a mold has a defect or flaw, all products made from that mold will bear the same flaw. To create flawless products, the mold itself must be flawless. Similarly, to maintain good health, the body must have a flawless life structure. Suppose someone falls while building a house, breaks his leg, and ends up with an amputation, or someone encounters a car accident and loses a leg. The root cause isn't carelessness or bad luck. It lies in a flaw in his life structure. Once this flaw exists, his leg is destined to be lost, whether by a fall, a car accident, a fire, disease, assault, or snake bite. In any case, his leg is doomed. If it's not amputated from a fall, it will be lost in a car accident. If not burned in a fire, it will be paralyzed by disease. If not broken by someone, it will be bitten off by a snake. In short, his leg cannot be saved. Likewise, any disease, whether it's heart disease, arthritis, cancer, or AIDS, begins with a flaw in the life structure. The problem is not with the surface, but with the essence. If a person's life structure is perfect, they will not fall ill. Whether it's the flu, the Black Death, SARS, or bird flu, they will remain unaffected. They also won't encounter accidents like car crashes or plane crashes. Even if they do, they will survive unharmed. A simple observation reveals a pattern. People who frequently fall ill have psychological and mental issues, not physical ones. To maintain a healthy body, one must first have a healthy mind and spirit. Once there are issues with the mind and spirit, the body will soon develop corresponding discomfort or disease. Psychological and spiritual issues can be attributed to problems of the mind, and the mind is closely related to the structure of life. Science has proven that the structure of water molecules is influenced by the consciousness of life around them. When water molecules encounter positive emotions like love, gratitude, and affection, they exhibit a beautifully symmetrical structure. When they encounter negative emotions like hatred, disgust, and irritation, they exhibit an ugly and flawed structure. These ugly and defective structures are flawed structures, and such flawed structures can lead to problems or diseases. What is true for water molecules is true for all matter. The structure of our bodies changes with our mental state. To have a healthy body, we must first have a healthy and perfect soul. A great person once said, "After 40, a person is responsible for their own appearance." Buddhism teaches that during cultivation, one should maintain a compassionate and kind demeanor and posture, showing that the soul is connected not only to appearance but also to the structure of life. The best prescription for a beautiful soul is the teachings of Jesus and Sakyamuni, followed by practicing cultivation in Life-Genuine. As the Life-Genuine era arrives, hospitals will disband and doctors will no longer exist, yet everyone will be healthy, almost like the celestial beings in the thousand-year world. 不要打搅乐就在其中. Do not disturb, joy lies within it. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. When I was a child, sitting on the ground and playing with mud with my friends, I found joy within it. At such moments, if an adult came over and interrupted, saying that smart children should be reading instead of playing with mud, and that they should stay clean and not get their clothes dirty, it would ruin the fun. For teenagers, idol worship is like playing with mud. Their happiness and joy lie within it. If adults are disdainful and obstructive, it can hurt the pure emotions of these young people and cast a shadow over their innocent hearts. When two people are deeply in love, they find great joy within it. If teachers or elders insist on them being rational, it can prevent the budding of love from blooming at the right time, leading to enormous regret and endless consequences in their lives. A woman with a beautiful figure might enjoy taking nude photos of herself and sharing them publicly. Please don't judge her by conventional moral standards or try to bring her down. She is immersed in her own joy, and many others are thrilled and excited by the beauty of her art. This aligns not only with the original intent of the Garden of Eden, but also with the life of celestial beings in the 10,000-year world of heaven. Some people enjoy seeking thrills, horse racing, playing the stock market, bungee jumping, adventuring, having affairs, or even overthrowing regimes. Please do not interfere. They are finding joy within these activities. Some enjoy writing poetry, playing chess, singing, or fishing. Please do not mock or disturb them. They are finding joy within these activities. Some love politics, some love making money, some love art, and some love philosophy. Please don't pour cold water on them or discourage them. They are finding joy within these pursuits. Some enjoy studying Buddhism, some enjoy cultivating as celestial beings, some enjoy martial arts, and some enjoy mystical arts. Please do not ridicule them. They are finding joy within these practices. Some enjoy getting married, some enjoy being single, some enjoy meditating, and some enjoy hiking. Please do not give unsolicited advice or offer misguided suggestions. They are finding joy within these preferences. If someone is passionate about something, as long as it brings them happiness and does not harm others, they should be allowed to indulge in their passion. Interfering will only bring them distress, leaving them at a loss. Who can say their life is the most perfect or that their path is the most correct? Who can guarantee that their advice will bring joy and happiness to others? What others do not need should not be forcibly given, and when others do not need help, do not insist on being a good person. The mood of a person living in a thatched cottage may be better than that of a person living in a luxurious palace. The body and mind of someone who eats simple food may be healthier than those of someone who indulges in gourmet delicacies. Simplicity is better than complexity, and plainness is more precious than extravagance. A shepherd may understand the wonders and beauty of nature better than a philosopher. What is a successful life? As long as you feel happy and content throughout your life, that is a successful life. Is becoming an emperor a success? Perhaps sorrow lies within. Is having billions of dollars a success? Perhaps trouble lies within. Is becoming famous or holding office a success? Perhaps problems lie within. Is having a different beautiful woman to accompany you every night a success? Perhaps disaster lies within. Is writing 1,000,000 articles a success? Perhaps moral corruption lies within. Good fortune hides within bad, and bad fortune lurks within good. The lotus emerges pure from the mud, while fish perish in clear water. The gates of a wealthy household may conceal the starved dead, while a remote place may give birth to a phoenix. Who can discern this? Cleverness can lead to its own downfall. As the saying goes, the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. A lifetime of humiliation may instead lead to the Buddhist path. A life of poverty may instead lead to the celestial way. Who can comprehend these mysteries? Only those with great wisdom and insight should offer advice or make suggestions, and only those with deep enlightenment should educate or guide others. It seems I must also be cautious. Otherwise, I may not be doing good but instead accumulating karma. As long as you find joy in what you do, I will stand aside, not disturbing or offering poor advice. A gentleman's word cannot be taken back, no matter how fast the horse is, as Wei Xiaobao famously said. 客观世界是主观意识的反应. The objective world is a reflection of subjective consciousness. Xiefeng, September 22, 2005. Translation edited by Qin Yu. In the face of the myriad phenomena in the vast world, i.e., objective reality, human beings are always in a passive position. This passivity arises from a reversal of the primary and secondary relationship, mistaking the subject for the object and the object for the subject. In reality, the subjective is the essence, and the objective is the external manifestation. However, people tend to treat the subjective as the objective and the objective as the subjective. This inversion of primary and secondary is akin to putting the cart before the horse, leading humanity to display a passive consciousness in the face of nature. This negates the proactive role of human consciousness, resulting in the attribution of all human misfortunes and sufferings to nature, while ignoring the positive and negative effects of one's own consciousness. This, in turn, provides a self-soothing excuse for one's misfortunes and suffering. I have a copy of the Modern Chinese Dictionary at hand. Under the entry for consciousness, it defines, consciousness is the reflection of the objective material world in the human brain. It is the sum of psychological processes such as sensation and thinking, with thinking being the advanced form of reflection unique to humans. Existence determines consciousness, and consciousness, in turn, acts upon existence. This explanation is entirely inverted, placing humans in a passive position, leading them into a state of confusion and trapping them in an abyss of darkness with no way to find light. Under such erroneous guidance, people can only resign themselves to fate, placing their hopes on gods, Buddhas, or great figures, expecting a savior to rescue them. They forget their own subjective initiative and fail to realize that they themselves are their own saviors. In other words, while one is originally their own savior, they now view external things as their savior. This is the root of human suffering and misfortune. The correct understanding of consciousness is that it is a manifestation of the non-material structure of a spiritual being, a self-nature Tathagata. It is a thinking activity that proactively creates the objective world. The objective world is the result of subjective consciousness. Consciousness determines existence, and existence, in turn, acts upon consciousness. The principle may seem profound and difficult to understand, but upon careful reflection, profound truths become simple and easy to grasp. Let's first consider the Thai ladyboys. Thai ladyboys are males who feminize themselves. Some ladyboys are as beautiful as celestial beings, captivating with their every movement and smile, surpassing even the most beautiful women. How is this possible? The key lies in the proactive role of the ladyboy's consciousness. If a man consciously and persistently studies and mimics women, continually imagining himself as a woman over time, under the influence of his consciousness, not only will his speech and behavior become feminine, but his personality traits and even his physical and psychological characteristics will gradually change towards femininity, ultimately transforming him into a ladyboy. Why is it said that after the age of 40, people are responsible for their own appearance? Why do enlightened beings have compassionate and kind expressions? The reason lies in the positive role of self-consciousness. In other words, the objective reality is a reflection of subjective consciousness. Whatever subjective consciousness exists, so will the objective reality. Why are Americans wealthy while Africans are poor? On the same planet, under the same sun, where does the difference lie? The root cause lies in consciousness. Whatever subjective consciousness exists, so will the objective reality. It is not existence that determines consciousness, but consciousness that determines existence. People with cheerful personalities are generally healthy and long-lived, while those with narrow minds are generally more prone to illness and shorter lifespans. This is primarily due to the influence of consciousness, not diet and environment. Under the same conditions and environment, some people's homes are clean, tidy, refreshing, and comfortable, while others' homes are messy, chaotic, and foul-smelling. Where lies the reason? Again, it's the influence of consciousness. Whatever consciousness exists, so will the reality. Should we still blame heaven and earth? We should not complain about the greatest creator. We should change our consciousness. The objective reality is the product of one's own subjective consciousness. Some may argue that those born into poor families or with congenital defects, are these objective realities also caused by subjective consciousness? The answer is 100% caused by one's own subjective consciousness. Do not blame your parents, do not blame the greatest creator, do not blame society, and do not blame nature. This requires tracing back to your consciousness in previous lives and even further back, meaning that the consciousness of your past lives has led to the objective reality of this life. There is no error in the teachings of Jesus and Sakyamuni. What is the purpose of our cultivation and practice? It is to change our consciousness. If a person has the consciousness of a pig, they will inevitably end up in a pigsty, keeping company with pigs. If a person has a mentality inclined toward theft, they will inevitably associate with thieves. If a person has the consciousness of a Buddha, they will naturally be born into the Buddha's land in the next life. If a person has the consciousness of a super celestial being, after the death of their physical body, they will surely go to the celestial islands continent of the Elysium world. This is very simple common sense. What is so difficult to understand about it? Some may consider this superstition, but my dear comrades, this is not superstition. Superstition is something that cannot be clearly explained, but I can explain all of this to you in detail. Watching you not walk the great way of life, but blindly rush about, wasting your precious time, my heart aches. While I am still in this world, you should seize the opportunity to cultivate and practice. If you cannot accept that I am the incarnation of Jesus and Sakyamuni, it's fine to regard me as a dung beetle, a rotten egg, or even a demon or ghost. The key is whether what I say makes sense. If it does, then what are you waiting for? If the greatest creator sends a boat to pick you up and you refuse to board, or if the greatest creator sends a plane to pick you up and you refuse to fly, do you really think the greatest creator will come to pick you up personally? Just weigh how important you are, and you'll understand. 突破围墙意识. Break through the consciousness of walls. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qinyu. Creation has destined the snail to travel with a heavy shell on its back. Most mollusks have protective shells. The softer they are on the inside, the harder their exterior. The harder they are inside, the softer their exterior. Humans exhibit a similar phenomenon. Those who are harsh and domineering with their wives and children at home, or aggressive with siblings, neighbors, and friends, tend to become weak and submissive when they travel far from home. Conversely, those who are meek and gentle with their loved ones often display courage and strength in front of strangers. People who are adept at internal conflicts within their own circles are often humble outside, while those who attack their own compatriots, nation, or country often appear very compliant and docile in front of foreigners. The less attractive a person feels, the more they tend to package themselves. The poorer one's economic situation, the more they are inclined to wear branded clothes. The less powerful one is, the more they like to put on airs. The less wise one is, the more they pretend to be profound and broad-minded. The less capable one is, the more they flatter and ingratiate others. The weaker one's inner self, the more they tend to fortify and isolate themselves. The narrower one's mind, the more they defend themselves. In front of my house, there used to be a wire fence surrounding the largest golf course in Harare. Inside the course, there were lush green grass, gentle slopes, and a vast, open view. From the outside, the view inside was beautiful, and from the inside, the outside scenery was equally picturesque. However, a month ago, things suddenly changed. A wall was erected around the golf course. Now, those outside can no longer see the scenery inside, and those inside can no longer see the scenery outside. The expansive view became narrow in an instant, with the cold, gray wall now dominating the sight, creating a deep sense of oppression. I remember 10 years ago when the walls around homes were low. Some even had no walls at all, using plants and vines to surround their yards instead. Some only use steel bars or wire mesh, allowing pedestrians outside to fully enjoy the unique beauty of each household's garden, appreciating the flowers and plants, and watching the playful dogs and cats inside. The people within the yards could freely take in the scenery outside, effectively expanding their own space and extending their view to infinity. But now, every household has high walls, and these walls are often topped with barbed wire. The gates are made of thick black iron plates, sealed tightly without a crack, completely isolating the inside from the outside. By blocking others, one also blocks oneself. By limiting others' views, one also limits one's own. Closing the doors and windows prevents the entry of sunlight and fresh air. By not opening one's heart, one rejects opportunities for communication with other beautiful souls. Cleverness turns into folly. The more one defends, the more confined they become. The more one emphasizes safety, the less secure they feel. The vastest ocean accommodates the most rivers, and the most open heart is most likely to give birth to the greatest thoughts. Those who do not reject diverse diets have the strongest bodies. The person who receives the most love is the one who selflessly gives their love to as many people as possible. The moment you feel great and extraordinary is precisely when you are at your smallest and most useless. When you feel wise and profound but your heart is arrogant, that is the moment when you are most ignorant. When you hide your emotions and thoughts, believing you have acquired valuable treasures, it is when you are actually harboring rotten and foul garbage. When you are desperately trying to protect and defend yourself, setting up defenses everywhere, that is the moment when you are at your weakest, most troubled, and most bored. A lamp should be placed on a stand to shine and illuminate. Flowers should bloom at the right time to release their fragrance, and people should seize opportunities to create. Opportunity knocks but once. Time waits for no one. Life is short. One cannot passively avoid the world, lingering and hesitating in wait and observation. Lost time can never be retrieved, and missed opportunities will never come again. Every day, every moment is a part of life. One must not let idleness and emptiness occupy the precious space of life. Though the pigsty may be large, it cannot offer a view of the scenery outside. While one can swim in a pond, it cannot allow one to experience the vast and majestic sea. Surrounding oneself with walls may enable survival, but it cannot let one appreciate the diverse wonders of the world. Lying in a coffin buried underground may protect one from the cold wind and fierce storms, but it also deprives one of the myriad joys of life. break through the consciousness of walls and step out of the prison of the mind. Soar like a petrel riding the stormy waves. Integrate your talents and wisdom into the creation of the Life Genuine era. Let your beautiful and precious life flow into the tide of the new era. Clinging stubbornly to the past cannot save you. Holding on to remnants and defects means regression and death. Conservatism cannot compare to openness. Sticking to the old is not as good as innovation. Waiting is not as good as striving forward. Silent death is not as good as calling out for life. Playing seriously, being serious in play, and constantly striving towards the highest state of life. This is the most vibrant and passionate life. Break through the walls of life and enter the paradise of celestial being life. Break through the walls of the family and enter the home of universal love. Break through the walls of religion and political parties and enter the deeper sanctuary of Life Genuine. Break through the walls of the nation and enter the homeland of life. Most importantly, break through the walls of the mind and soar freely toward infinite freedom. Courageously venture into mysterious and unknown realms. Explore the wonders of the vast universe. Experience the charm and joys of another form of life. And feel the vast and boundless spiritual realm and the magical thinking melody of creating something out of nothing. Live every moment with boundless freedom, passion, and joy. As long as you break through, you will see a whole new world. 天人合一，同频共振. Unite with heaven. Resonate at the same frequency. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. As long as there is motion, there is vibration. As long as there is vibration, there is frequency. Where there is frequency, there is rhythm and regularity. Things that share the same frequency can resonate with each other, mutually enhancing, developing, and growing stronger. Conversely, things with different frequencies can suppress, cancel out, or even destroy each other. The softer something is, the easier it is to adjust its frequency and resonate. The harder something is, the more likely it is to become rigid, resistant, and opposed to resonance. Mountains and rocks can be easily destroyed, but water and air are difficult to break. The more adaptable a life form is to change, the greater its chances of survival. Life forms that cannot adapt to changes in their environment and rigidly adhere to their rhythms are prone to collapse and extinction. This applies to bacteria, plants, animals, and humans alike. Halley's Comet visits Earth every 76 years. This is its rhythm, its regularity, its vibrational frequency. The Earth orbits the Sun every 365 days. The Moon orbits the Earth every 29.5 days. Adult women experience menstruation. Seasons change on schedule. Day and night alternate. Waking and sleeping follow a cycle. Migratory birds move at regular intervals. Tides rise and fall predictably, and the heart beats 60 times per minute. All of these are examples of rhythm and frequency. People whose biological rhythms or frequencies are not suited to high-altitude environments may experience altitude sickness. People who live in areas with low humidity struggle when they move to drier climates. Those who travel long distances across time zones may suffer from jet lag. A Muslim suddenly living among Buddhists might feel uncomfortable, and even someone from the north of a country might find it difficult to adjust to the diet in the south. Have people noticed that everyone has a relatively stable circle of life? Although we live in a vast sea of people, we prefer to live in small circles where the culture and customs are the same or similar to our own. It's difficult to break out of this circle. Abroad, these cultural circles become especially pronounced, with Indians tending to stay together. Chinese people often associate with other Chinese. White people frequent predominantly white clubs, and black people tend to gather in predominantly black entertainment venues. Even in a university, students from the same province are more likely to bond with each other. The force behind these unconscious behaviors is frequency, biological frequency. Why do you like someone? Because their frequency matches or is similar to yours. Why do they dislike you? Because your frequency doesn't resonate with theirs. When frequencies can't resonate, there is no harmony, and without harmony, peaceful coexistence is impossible. To thrive, you must strive to resonate with your surroundings. Frequencies can be adjusted. To ensure that a large symphony orchestra plays beautiful, harmonious music, all the instruments must be tuned to the same pitch and frequency. To function effectively within a group and make a significant impact, each person must also tune their mind and thinking frequency accordingly. Biological entities that stubbornly adhere to their own frequencies, ignoring changes, either struggle through life or head towards self-elimination and destruction. What I'm trying to say is that everything is undergoing significant changes. Suppose the sun suddenly rises in the west. Suppose the sea suddenly becomes land, or land becomes sea. Suppose nations, religions, political parties, and families suddenly disappear. Suppose the sun, moon, and stars suddenly lose their light. Suppose natural disasters occur frequently. Suppose hospitals suddenly vanish, transportation and communication suddenly cease, or you suddenly lose all contact with your loved ones, friends, and familiar people. Could you handle it? I know some compatriots who refuse to eat Western food, saying it's unpalatable and that it upsets their stomachs. There was a man in his 30s who, after living abroad for 6 months, one day cried bitterly. When asked why, he said he missed home and his children. Another friend constantly wore a gloomy expression because he couldn't stand the smell of foreigners. A colleague mentioned feeling oppressed in Zimbabwe because of the abundant trees and said he preferred living in Jaiguan Pass, where the vast Gobi Desert offers a broad, open view. I've noticed that people today are extremely fragile, unable to withstand any shock or setback. Modern people can't enjoy the comfortable life our ancestors had 2,000 years ago. Without tap water, they complain. Without public transport, they curse. Without electric lights or phones, they grumble. Without air conditioning or TV, they get irritated. The more comfortable life is, the more fragile people become. The more freedom they have, the less they can tolerate criticism. If things don't go their way, they abandon themselves to despair, self-pity, and self-loathing. If someone's words are even slightly careless, unintentional from the speaker but taken to heart by the listener, they sulk, throw tantrums, demand independence, seek division, or either remain silent or fly into a rage. They judge others by their own standards. No one can help. Fragility is not the same as softness. I hope people can be soft, not fragile. Softness can adapt to various frequencies, but fragility leads only to death. The unity of heaven and humanity doesn't just mean heaven-human resonance, heaven-human oneness, or heaven-human holography. It also means adapting to the changes of heaven. We can't always expect heaven to conform to human desires. Instead, we should consider how humans can align with the will of heaven, resonating with the changes in the Tao. If it rains, crying won't help. If it snows, shouting is useless. One must adapt to the changes of heaven. The stars are awakening. Consciousness must change. The frequency of the heavens is going to change, and people should enter life genuine. All religions will unify into one uniform belief. This is the trend of the times, and we must adapt. We must change the frequency of our minds. If our frequency does not change, the fate of the dinosaurs serves as a warning. Bitter medicine is good for illness. Honest advice is good for life. I earnestly and with sincere care call out to people, the great power is coming. Hurry up. The gate to heaven is as narrow as a seam. Follow the guide to your future, and don't look around, left or right. To resonate with heaven is the true path. 人生的参照系和坐标系 The reference frame and coordinate system of life. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. After reading Dan Xin's Recreating Reality, a direct hit on the frame of reference, I suddenly gained some insight. Dan Xin mentioned, whatever frame of reference you establish, your life will correspond to that. The relationship between a person and the world will be shaped accordingly. This is indeed the truth. Life must have a frame of reference. The kind of reference frame one adopts will determine the kind of life one leads. When we observe human society, we find that people are grouped together, and the primary factor that determines these groupings is the frame of reference. People with the same frame of reference tend to cluster together, while those with different frames of reference find it difficult to integrate. What frames of reference exist in human society? The Bible, the Quran, Buddhist scriptures, the Tao Te Ching, science, wealth and fame, the theory of evolution, New Age concepts, Marxism, and Mao Zedong thought. These are all different frames of reference. If we classify them another way, the greatest creator, gods, Buddhas, celestial beings, humans, life, natural society, human society, time and space, non-material, and so on are all frames of reference. Christians take the Bible as their frame of reference. Muslims take the Quran. Buddhists take the Buddhist scriptures. Communist Party members take Marxism and Mao Zedong thought. Merchants take wealth. Politicians take power. Scholars take fame. And ordinary people take daily survival as their frame of reference. The ignorant have no frame of reference. A frame of reference is crucial. Choosing the wrong one can lead to a lifetime of regret and endless harm. One misstep leads to eternal remorse. So, what is the best frame of reference? What standard should we use to establish our life's frame of reference? I believe that the best frame of reference is one that allows people to live a life of value, meaning, joy, and happiness while also giving them hope, enthusiasm, drive, and vitality, and enables them to transition from the human world to heaven. I believe Life Genuine is such a frame of reference. With a frame of reference, one can then enter a coordinate system. Bacteria, insects, wild beasts, birds, fish and tortoises, flowers, plants, domestic animals, the ignorant, the worldly, the mortal, sages, celestial beings, Buddhas, gods. These all represent different coordinate systems. The Life Genuine members, the Chanyuan Celestials, use celestial beings as their coordinate system. The kind of reference frame you adopt will shape the life you lead, and the kind of coordinate system you choose will determine the quality of your life. Let us take Life Genuine as our frame of reference and celestial beings as our coordinate system, as we move toward the celestial islands continent of the Elysium world. 相生相克保持平衡. Mutual generation and restraint maintain balance. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. Balance brings blessings. Excess brings misfortune. The coexistence of mutual generation and restraint is the essence of peace. This is true for the universe, and it should also be true for human life. I have studied the five elements theory and was once fascinated by fortune-telling for others. I discovered that the ancient Chinese wisdom is profound and mysterious. What is often dismissed as nonsense and superstition by the secular world actually contains the crystallized wisdom of our ancestors, who deeply studied the laws of the universe and the trajectory of life's blessings and misfortunes. Due to our ignorance, we have foolishly thrown away these gems of wisdom into the trash, while modern people are intoxicated by the dazzling surface phenomena of a commercial society or merely use the wisdom of the ancients as a means to make money through fortune-telling, completely ignoring the vast and profound knowledge about the universe and life left by our predecessors. The five elements, metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, mutually generate and restrain each other. Wood generates fire, fire generates earth, earth generates metal, metal generates water, and water generates wood. The five elements also restrain each other. Metal restrains wood, wood restrains earth, earth restrains water, water restrains fire, and fire restrains metal. Only through mutual generation and restraint can all things develop harmoniously and be peaceful forever. Any extreme development not only harms the rest, but inevitably leads to its own demise. This principle applies to nature, and human society should be the same. The reason why the United States, a country with only a few hundred years of history and a mixture of races and cultures, can become a world superpower is mainly because it conforms to the principle of mutual generation and restraint. Their administration, legislation, judiciary, religion, and civil organizations are like metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, mutually generating and restraining each other, enabling harmonious and vigorous development and making them invincible. On the other hand, China, with its 5,000-year cultural history, has experienced continuous wars, movements, and widespread discontent and anxiety throughout its history. The root cause lies in the violation of the principle of mutual generation and restraint. National affairs are not the concern of us Life Genuine. What we care about is how each individual can live a happy and fulfilling life. From the 8 characters fortune-telling, I have glimpsed some mysteries. The so-called 8 characters fortune-telling involves converting a person's birth year, month, day, and hour into the heavenly stems and earthly branches, then converting these into the 5 elements, and finally using the principles of mutual generation and restraint of the five elements to calculate a person's future lifespan, fortunes, merits and demerits, success and failures. This method of fortune telling is highly scientific and reasonable and is a profound subject. I studied it for 2 years and found that its mysteries are beyond the understanding of anyone who is not highly learned and wise. Mechanically fortune telling is undesirable, but what is desirable is to provide timely guidance based on each person's five elements. This guidance is essentially about changing a person's life trajectory, but changing a person's life trajectory is no easy task. It involves a series of personal factors. Not only must one consider the person's five elements attributes and the positions of the eight trigrams, but also the changes in the times, the changes of the moment, and the five elements attributes of others connected to the person. One must also consider the person's beliefs and psychological activities. If any of these factors are ignored, fortune-telling guidance may have negative consequences or even disastrous results. Therefore, I no longer dare to tell fortunes. One universal insight I've gained is worth sharing. Fate lies in balance, and a life that has lost its balance will inevitably lead to sorrow and disaster. In Revelation chapter, Article 29, The Priorities and Urgency of Life, I gave a brief explanation of what are the priorities and urgency of life from a macro perspective of life as a whole. From a micro perspective, each stage of life has its priorities and urgencies, and even each day has its priorities and urgencies. Ignoring priorities and urgencies and spending much time on what is secondary and trivial can lead to distress at any time. So maintaining balance is crucial. The reason why the five elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth can exist forever is mainly that they can mutually generate and restrain each other, maintaining balance. Balance is perfection, smoothness, harmony, and the law for the permanence of life. If a person's five elements attribute is mountain fire, and if their relatives have a predominantly fire attribute, and they live in the southern part of the country, this indicates that the fire element is too strong. If they encounter a fire year, fire month, fire day, or fire hour, the fire will inevitably burn fiercely. The external manifestation could be illness, disaster, or even sudden death, unexpected misfortunes such as illness or car accidents. At this time, traveling to the north to visit relatives, or being with a few people whose five elements attribute is water, especially those whose attribute is heavenly water, can alleviate the severity of the situation. Giving flowers, crops, and trees the right amount of water will make them grow well, but soaking them in water will inevitably drown them. Therefore, more is not necessarily better. Moderation is best. People generally resent those who restrain them, wishing to destroy them. A powerful and corrupt person hates party discipline, hates media interviews, and hates the freedom of speech of the common people. They see the factors that restrain them as enemies, and the inevitable result is that they will fall when they are at their peak. Aside from emotional factors, parents, spouses, children, etc., are the restraining factors on a person's path of cultivation. But it is precisely these restraining factors that prevent a person from going to extremes and from going mad. Attending school, working, and participating in social activities are also restraining factors on the path of cultivation. These restraining factors provide us with opportunities for cultivation and excellent opportunities for insight. Good fortune hides within bad, and bad fortune lurks within good. Appropriate help or harm to others is beneficial, while excessive help or harm will lead to disaster. Conclusion: when the direction is right, every step is an elevation. Metal, wood, water, fire, earth, mutually generate and restrain each other. As for the myriad affairs of life, one should go with the flow but never go to extremes. Do not seek possession, but seek balance. Do not seek fame, but seek inner peace. Do not seek intensity, but seek emptiness and elegance. 破坏与创造, destruction and creation. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. Refusing to grow means stagnation, rigidity, and death. Without a series of deaths, life loses all its meaning. The silkworm breaks out of its egg, bathes in sunlight, gentle breezes, and dewdrops, busily feeds on mulberry leaves. It continues to grow, shedding its skin twice in a complete transformation, producing golden or silvery silk. Then it spins a cocoon, transforming itself into a pupa. After a period of cultivation and practice, it changes its life structure and finally breaks out of the cocoon, emerging as a butterfly, fluttering gracefully among flowers and trees, fully enjoying the splendor of life. The eggshell, old skin, and cocoon are forms of protection, but they are also constraints. Only by continuously creating and then destroying can a brand new life form be born, soaring freely in the vast mountains and rivers. Isn't human life just the same? Family, ethnicity, nation, religion, and political parties are like the eggshell and cocoon. Initially, they protect, but later, they become restraints and shackles. If the silkworm does not break the shell and abandon it, it will die within it. Even if it does not die, it will remain forever curled inside, unable to enjoy the joy of becoming a butterfly. Constantly dying and being reborn is the meaning of life. Continuously creating and destroying is the meaning of human existence. This is a new way of thinking, a new way of life, a sage's view of life, a saint's worldview, a divine perspective on life, and the greatest creator's view of the universe. Every day, as the bright sun breaks through the morning mist and rises in the east, the crystal-clear dewdrops on the leaf tips gradually evaporate in the morning light, and a new day begins. The earth is filled with fresh vitality. New things continuously rise. The ocean sings in the waves. The green branches sway gracefully in the breeze. Joyful birds soar freely in the blue sky, and flowers bloom proudly in the fields and mountains. Ah, how marvelous life is, with the songs of birds and swallows everywhere, brimming with vitality, streams murmuring, and green waves rippling. Yesterday has passed. Beside the dying boat, 1,000 sails pass. In front of the sick tree, 10,000 new trees spring up. We should embrace new life, face the morning glow, enjoy the fresh breeze, carry a basket, and happily pick the mushrooms of happiness that belong to us. This is an active life, a diligent life, a life full of vitality, and also a life of joy and happiness. We keep on trekking, keep moving forward, heading toward the light, toward the future, toward a new life, toward the boundless space and time of life, advance together, singing and dancing joyfully. Clinging to the past is the worldview of the passive and lazy. Restricting the pursuit of freedom and happiness is the devil's worldview. Obstructing others' joy and happiness is the narrow and selfish mindset of the petty, and attacking and destroying others' joy and happiness is the perverted moral view of the malformed. Every man is a unique new landscape, and every woman should at least get to know 10 men in her lifetime. Every woman is a fresh and beautiful scenery, and every man should love at least 10 women in his lifetime. Keep the good ones, discard the bad ones in time, and then seek new scenery. The pursuit of freedom and happiness in love is a legitimate right granted by the greatest creator. Why not love? Why not pursue? Why live such a burdened life? In the end, isn't it just a trip to the crematorium? Don't cry and say, I haven't lived enough, or blame the heavens and earth, saying, I've lived too miserably. No. Say, I lived a free and fulfilling life, with no regrets. I lived according to the emotions the greatest creator gave me, with flavor, with affection and righteousness. Everyone should enter some religion or political group for baptism and experience, but don't get so deeply involved that you can't get out. Religion and political groups are like protective shells and cocoons. Only those who can enter and exit freely can transcend. If you can enter but can't exit, you will die in them, losing the qualification and opportunity to appreciate the wonders of the world. This is why Life Genuine insists on being friends without forming factions. Everyone belongs to a certain ethnicity and country, but ethnicity and country are also protective shells and cocoons. If we regard these shells and cocoons as our eternal protectors, then we live too narrowly, too boringly, too selfishly, and too conservatively. If our hearts are broad enough, we will appreciate all the ethnicities and countries in the world, befriending brothers and sisters of all ethnicities, and being friendly neighbors with sages and common folk from all countries. Blind arrogance in nationalism and statism is an obstacle and enemy to human happiness. Those who put the interests of their ethnicity and country above all are narrow-minded frogs in a well, pitiful creatures. A person with a healthy mind will not limit their life vision to a narrow valley but will look beyond hills and mountains, toward the future, toward the whole world, to appreciate countless sceneries and styles. Therefore, we must constantly destroy fixed ways of thinking, destroy traditions that shackle human nature, destroy the old shells and cocoons that once protected us, destroy decayed morals that hinder the pursuit of freedom, and destroy all shackles that prevent us from enjoying life's joy and happiness. So, we must constantly create new ways of thinking, create new lifestyles, establish new views of life, the world, life, the universe, and morality, and open up the era of life genuine that humanity has long dreamed of. The me of yesterday has already died. I no longer cling to what is past. The me of today is a new me. I am willing to create and enjoy the present life to the fullest. The me of today will also die, and I will embrace tomorrow without hesitation, full of hope to welcome the arrival of a new day. Constantly dying, constantly being reborn, constantly destroying, constantly creating. Changing the structure of life, sublimating the quality of life. New life will always belong to us. 两条平行线相交于一点. Two parallel lines intersect at one point. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. Euclidean geometry asserts that two parallel straight lines can never intersect. Einstein, considering the perspective of the universe, hypothesized that two parallel lines might intersect, but he did not provide proof, and to this day, scientists have not been able to prove it. Euclid proved the parallel line postulate from the perspective of a two-dimensional plane. Even in three-dimensional space, Euclid's parallel line postulate holds true and cannot be overturned. Assuming that the multiverse theory in quantum mechanics string theory is accurate, even in such a scenario, two parallel straight lines cannot intersect at one point. Einstein reasoned that massive objects could cause space to deform and curve. When light encounters an object with sufficient mass, gravity prevents it from traveling in a straight line, so two parallel lines might intersect at a certain point due to this curvature. Therefore, he believed that Euclidean geometry might not be a universal principle. Some scientists consider time as a dimension, and this has scientific reasoning because any object undoubtedly exists within time and evolves with the passage of time, unable to escape time's palm. However, scientists view time with conventional thinking. Although, according to the principles of general relativity, time can also deform. This deformation does not allow two parallel lines to intersect at one point because the two parallel lines would deform simultaneously and remain parallel after the deformation. According to the principles of black holes, two parallel lines may simultaneously terminate at a certain point in time, but this does not cause them to intersect at one point. The holographic theory of the universe also cannot prove that two parallel lines will intersect at one point. According to holographic theory, two parallel straight lines carry the same information and are equal. Once formed, they will continue to move forward in parallel along a fixed trajectory. However, in the unified field theory of the universe, two parallel lines will intersect at one point. So, what is the unified field theory of the universe? Scientists have been debating this, which is why the unified field theory has yet to be established. So how can I say that two parallel lines will intersect in the unified field theory of the universe? Scientists believe that there are only four fundamental forces in the universe: electromagnetic force, gravitational force, strong nuclear force, and weak nuclear force. But relying on these four forces alone cannot establish the unified field theory of the universe. According to the uncertainty principle of quantum mechanics, people realize that the motion state of fundamental particles, wave-particle duality, is related to the observer's method of observation. From this, some individuals who are not scientists but may belong to the category of scientists who are non-scientists realize that consciousness is related to the movement of matter. Thus, some have tried to incorporate the force of consciousness into the unified field theory, although this still does not constitute a complete unified field theory. I will briefly discuss the unified field theory of the universe in the chapter of Preaching Tao. For now, I will provide proof from the perspective of time and space to demonstrate that two parallel lines will intersect at one point. First, it is necessary to clarify that the traditional concept of time is incorrect. The idea that time flows uniformly is not in accordance with reality. The belief that time is unidirectional is also not entirely correct because time is a recorder of the motion state of matter. Time arises from the movement of matter, and its speed is closely related to the speed and mode of matter's movement, as well as the space in which the matter exists. Therefore, time does not flow uniformly, but is constantly in motion and change. Furthermore, because matter can annihilate instantaneously, entering another space-time, it leads to the creation of lateral time. Hence, time does not only have a vertical property from past to future, but also a lateral property. Euclidean geometry is an abstraction of reality. To make two parallel lines intersect, we restore the abstraction to a concrete image and then observe whether they can intersect. Two parallel trains are an example of parallel lines. In a two-dimensional plane and three-dimensional space, they cannot intersect. They cannot collide with each other. If they collide, it no longer falls within the scope of the parallel line postulate. However, there is a scenario where this could happen. Two parallel speeding trains are suddenly drawn into a lateral spacetime. Because the time they are drawn into differs by just 1 second, their trajectories change slightly, resulting in a collision. This is somewhat like two distant scenes intersecting due to the mirage phenomenon. Of course, this still doesn't fully explain Einstein's thinking. If Einstein were still alive, he would inevitably reach this conclusion. In the universe, there are no parallel straight lines that do not intersect or separate. Even if two parallel lines have the same mass and information, space has planes of intersection. At these spatial intersections, they can no longer run parallel. Moreover, as long as there is distance in space, the forces acting on the two parallel lines cannot be equal, and these forces will inevitably cause the trajectories of the two parallel straight lines to change, thus separating or intersecting. Two strangers sitting on parallel seats in a moving car constitute two parallel lines. A sudden car accident occurs. One person dies, the other survives. They do not intersect. The deceased is drawn into lateral space-time. A few days or years later, the survivor suddenly has a dream in which he sees himself sitting in the seat where the deceased once sat, and they, the two parallel lines, intersect. Or, years later, the survivor also dies and is drawn into the same space-time. They meet again and even become a married couple, resulting in an intersection. The conclusion is, there are no parallel lines that do not intersect or separate. 获取无穷无尽能量的奥秘. The secret to acquiring infinite energy. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. A room filled with air can only hold so much, and if the doors and windows are sealed, the air will become stale. However, if there are windows on the north and south sides of the room, and they are opened, fresh air will continuously flow in and out. The larger the windows, the stronger the flow of energy. Can this fresh air ever be exhausted? Never. It is inexhaustible. A businessman's secret to making money lies in the rapid circulation of his capital. The faster it circulates, the more money he makes. The slower it circulates, the less he earns. If he holds onto it tightly without letting it circulate, that capital becomes dead, and not a single penny can be earned. A beloved singer earns respect and honor by continuously performing for people. The more they sing, the more honor they receive, and the more they sing, the more active their artistic selves become, leading to ever-improving skills. If they stop singing, their artistic talent diminishes, and they gradually fade from people's memories, eventually falling into obscurity. Wise people are those who continually dedicate their wisdom to others and society. The more they give, the faster they give, the more their wisdom grows, becoming increasingly perfect. The more they release, the more they gain. The more they give, not only does their wisdom not diminish, but their wealth of wisdom actually increases. The more one labors and exercises, the stronger, more energetic, and more vibrant their body becomes. The less one moves and the more they indulge, the weaker their body, the worse their spirit, and the more fatigue they feel. Therefore, the secret to acquiring infinite energy lies in all-encompassing release. The material world and the non-material world operate under opposite laws. From a material perspective, the more one releases, the more energy decreases. But from a non-material perspective, the more one releases, the more energy increases. When Jesus was in the human world, he continuously released, and as a result, the energy he gained was unprecedentedly immense. The same was true for Buddha. Many people in the human world are constantly taking but are stingy in releasing. In the end, they gain nothing and have no energy. The more you give, the more you gain. If you are unwilling to release anything, the result is energy depletion. Jesus revealed this secret to us. For whoever has, more will be given to them, and whoever does not have, even what they have will be taken from them. The more you give, the greater the reward. The less you give, the more you will lose even what little you have. The greatest creator's energy is infinite and inexhaustible. When our soul connects with the greatest creator's spirit, we are actually connected to an ocean of energy, and we possess endless energy. Half an acre of square pond looks like a mirror. The light of the sky and the shadow of the clouds linger together. Ask the canal how it stays so clear, because there is a source of living water. By accepting the endless stream of living water from the source and letting it flow out, the small pond will forever remain pure and fresh, eternally reflecting the light of the sky and the shadows of the clouds. We are in the way of the greatest creator, and every day we absorb the revelations of the greatest creator's Tao. Our wisdom is constantly growing, and the fresh living water flows continuously in Life Genuine. At the same time, we are building Life Genuine by releasing our wisdom. The more wisdom we release, the more wisdom we will gain, exponentially increasing. The wise have said, "A hospitable person will never be poor. A thief will never be rich." The more guests you entertain, the wider your sources of wealth will be. The more you sneak and steal, the narrower your path to wealth will be, and you will never become truly rich. Every day, the Chanyuan Celestials offer the gems they find to Life Genuine to entertain the Chanyuan guests. Have we become poor? Has our wisdom diminished? No, not only has it not diminished, but our spirit and soul have become increasingly abundant, and our path has broadened. If I may speak from experience, I release myself daily by writing articles. Have I become poor? No, I have become richer. First, the Oceans of Wisdom in Preaching Tao chapter, the Non-Material World chapter, the Attainment of Buddhahood chapter, Celestial Cultivation chapter, Wisdom chapter, and other texts are endless. Advanced self-improvement, advanced cultivation, the mysteries of life, advanced health preservation, and other yet-to-be-published wisdom reside within me. I am probably one of the richest people in the world. Additionally, the number of Chanyuan Celestials is growing, and they are all my brothers, sisters, family, and loved ones. If one day there are 10,000 Chanyuan Celestials spread across the globe, my living space will span the entire earth, and I will have homes everywhere. Do you think I am wealthy? Following this reasoning, every Chanyuan Celestial has this blessing and is expanding their territory of free living. Just working towards this realistic ideal is worth it. The more you give, the richer you become, not to mention the Life Genuine era and the journey to the Celestial Islands continent. Many people are unwilling to give, selfish, stingy, and unwilling to release even a little energy for the construction of Life Genuine. Have they become rich? I think they are as poor as can be, pitifully desolate, and their final outcome is likely to lose even what they have. Some may secretly rejoice, thinking they can continuously absorb the wisdom of others without giving, profiting from nothing, and making a fortune with no capital. In reality, this is foolishness that blinds their spirit. The world doesn't work that way. When life transforms, judgment is not based on how much one has acquired, but on how much one has given. The so-called hidden dragons and crouching tigers, the so-called reclusive sages, are actually some of the most foolish idiots. If stealing could make one rich, everyone would steal. Who would still be willing to create? Those who feel proud of themselves but lament that no one understands them are, in reality, selfish and self-centered individuals. If you don't give and only calculate your own small benefits, how can you not feel lonely and isolated? Therefore, you must give, you must release. The greatest creator is constantly releasing his energy without ever desiring to possess anything. Who in this universe could be more affluent than the greatest creator? Don't let immediate benefits blind your eyes. Don't let secular values control your spirit and soul. Boldly love those who are worthy of love, and dedicate all you have to those who pursue truth, goodness, beauty, and love, to the brothers, sisters, family, and loved ones in life genuine. In doing so, you will receive abundant rewards in the end, karmic rewards beyond imagination. Let us continuously spread the teachings of Life Genuine, inviting the guests of Chanyuan to join in the construction of Life Genuine and the creation of the Life Genuine era. As long as we contribute a little, release a little, we will experience the joy of giving, and the merits we accumulate will be embedded in the structure of our life. That will be our ticket to ascend to heaven, the foundation of transcending the mundane and transforming our beings. It's not about recognizing quality. It's about comparing quality. Everyone can compare and feel for themselves the immense value of Life Genuine. 人生的三大追求, the three major pursuits in life. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. There are three major pursuits in life: knowledge, wisdom, and spirituality. These are the three steps toward becoming a celestial being or a Buddha. Knowledge is the understanding and summary of the material world by people. Wisdom is the sublimation of knowledge, a capability to discern, analyze, and judge the essence and extension of things, as well as the ability to invent and create. Spirituality is the sublimation of wisdom, an ability to communicate with the non-material world. As people interact with the material world, they gradually discover certain laws and gain true insights and experiences during productive practices. These laws, insights, and experiences form the body of knowledge. The purpose of going to school is to quickly master the knowledge accumulated by predecessors without having to experience it all firsthand. Therefore, in elementary schools, middle schools, and universities, what one learns is knowledge. Whether one attains a bachelor's, master's, or doctoral degree, what is acquired is knowledge. Knowledge is not a capability but a prerequisite and foundation for acquiring capability. A person with abundant knowledge is worthy of respect because, with rich knowledge, one transcends primitive ignorance and lays the foundation for advancing towards civilization. Therefore, the pursuit of knowledge is the primary task in life. A person without knowledge is unreasonable, hard to educate, and unlikely to achieve anything. Teachers in universities, middle schools, and elementary schools possess knowledge. Experienced workers and farmers have knowledge. They are the main mediums for passing on knowledge. Nowadays, computers and the internet are also mediums for transmitting knowledge, as are books, articles, images, videos, television, CDs, and so on. However, possessing knowledge does not mean that one has capability. Only when knowledge is elevated to wisdom does a person gain the ability to discover, analyze, distinguish, and solve problems. Scientists, experts in various fields, engineers, technicians, business managers, successful entrepreneurs, political and religious leaders, all are people with wisdom. Those with wisdom are the driving force behind societal progress and development. The reason why a group of monkeys remains monkeys is that they lack wisdom. The reason why a person, a family, a clan, a nation, or a country remains poor and backward is the lack of wisdom. A person without wisdom does not know where to exert effort, how to use their mind, or how to make effective use of time. Therefore, the pursuit of wisdom becomes the urgent task for those who have knowledge. In other words, after acquiring knowledge, how to apply it to one's production and daily life becomes a matter of deep contemplation. Otherwise, the knowledge is useless. When we buy flour, cooking oil, vegetables, and seasonings at the supermarket, it does not solve our hunger problem. To solve the hunger problem, we must process these ingredients into food, and the ability to do so is the capability to transform knowledge into wisdom. Wisdom can make life full and prosperous, but it cannot solve a person's ultimate worries. Only by elevating wisdom to the level of spirituality can a person gain the ability to distinguish between truth, goodness, beauty, and love, and falsehood, evil, ugliness, and hatred. Only then can one possess morality, clearly understand the direction and purpose of life, communicate with the non-material world, understand the meaning of heaven and hell, and lay the foundation for becoming a celestial being or a Buddha. Among humanity, Buddhist monks, priests, Taoists, imams, and masters possess spirituality. They are the inheritors of spirituality. People like Osho, Oren, Seth, Zhang Hongbao, and Li Hongzhi are pioneers of spirituality. Laozi, Muhammad, Shakyamuni, and Jesus are navigators of spirituality. The Tao of the greatest creator is the source of spirituality. Knowledge and wisdom are unrelated to morality. That is to say, people with knowledge and wisdom do not necessarily possess morality. To possess morality, one must work on spirituality. But if one lacks knowledge and wisdom, it is impossible to open the door to spirituality. Even if one understands a little, it is merely superstition, and one remains clueless, unable to know the next step to take. Concepts like celestials, Buddhas, and heaven can only be illusory longings, and one might even doubt their reality, let alone attain them. Thus, there are three major pursuits in life: the pursuit of knowledge, the pursuit of wisdom, and the pursuit of spirituality, progressing step by step. Is there a way to skip knowledge and wisdom and achieve spirituality directly? In other words, is there a path to directly awaken one's spiritual awareness and reach spirituality without schooling, social practice, life experience, inventing and creation, or participating in religious activities or listening to sermons by masters? The answer is yes. First, see if you can read the celestial books with words, reading the heavens, the earth, life, and society, and understanding divine revelations from the phenomena of nature, thereby directly communicating with the greatest creator. Second, see if you have the predestined affinity with celestials or Buddhas and whether you can meet them and be directly enlightened by them, allowing them to guide your life. If you can fulfill either of these two conditions, even an illiterate person can attain spirituality and thus achieve the qualities of a celestial being or a Buddha, not to mention those who possess knowledge and wisdom. A person who often contemplates the ultimate goal of life is more likely to attain enlightenment and spirituality. Those who often wander in life genuine will accelerate their steps towards spirituality. 表象与本质 Appearance and essence. 显性 Translation edited by Qin. Appearance refers to the surface phenomena of an object, which belong to its material structure. Essence, on the other hand, refers to the true nature of things, belonging to the object's non-material structure. For example, the 7 orifices, hair, limbs, bones, internal organs, etc., are the appearance of a living being, while thoughts, consciousness, mind, and soul are the essence of a living being. Similarly, the mountains, rivers, animals, plants, and weather of the earth are its appearance, while the laws, deities, and other forces that cause these appearances are the essence of the earth. Appearance and essence are two aspects of a thing. They are complementary and form a unified whole. Therefore, the appearance of something truthfully reflects its essence. The appearance changes with the evolution of the essence, and the essence reveals its true nature as the appearance changes. Hence, to understand the essence of a thing, one needs to start with its appearance. By seeing through the appearance, one can recognize the essence. No matter how varied the appearance may be, it still reflects the essential characteristics of the thing. If one fails to see the essence of something through its appearance, it is not because the appearance is misleading, but because of negligence in observation, insufficient data collection, or bias in analyzing the phenomena. In bewilderment, Jiawa Celestial asks, can the appearance and surface phenomena of things reflect the truth or falsity of the inner essence of things? My answer is yes, absolutely. The reason why a person feels pain inside but shows a smile on the outside is due to a temporary distortion of their true nature, reflecting the essence of human cunning. This is not the original nature of a person, but a devilish technique learned later in life. When a child is hungry, they cry. Their appearance and essence are perfectly unified. However, in certain situations, even if an adult is very hungry, they might say they are not hungry at all or show no signs of hunger. This is a phenomenon where true nature has been distorted, a result of improper education and a sign of humanity's decline. Although a person can lie and disguise their true nature, causing others to be misled, with careful observation, their essence can still be discerned from their appearance. By analyzing their speech, behavior, complexion, expressions, and actions over time, one can perceive their true nature. A person can deceive for a time, but cannot deceive forever. A person can deceive some people, but cannot deceive everyone. A person can deceive humans, but cannot deceive deities. Even if someone extremely cunning and treacherous deceives everyone at all times, they cannot deceive themselves. Therefore, their overall appearance still reflects their essence. Humans can continually learn from experience and discover laws from countless appearances. Once it is found that appearance does not match essence, it is possible to understand the alienation of the essence from this discrepancy. Although lying may seem to cover up the essence, it actually truthfully reflects the essence after human nature has been distorted. Buddhism teaches us to recognize our mind and see our true nature, while Taoism teaches us to return to simplicity and truth. The idea is for our appearance and essence to perfectly integrate, so we can become celestial beings and achieve Buddhahood. 给自己的人生定位 Positioning your life. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. An ancient saying goes, people aim for higher ground, while water flows to lower places. To this day, I still don't understand where the higher ground is and where the lower places are. The earth is suspended in space, so how do we distinguish between high and low places? If we leave people behind and gradually shrink the earth until it becomes non-existent, everyone would be standing foot to foot, so whose head would be facing down? This is a question of thinking, not one of height or direction. It's much like the ancient belief that the heavens are round and the earth is square, or the sun revolves around the earth. Leaving aside where the water flows, let's talk about people aiming for higher ground. Where exactly is this higher ground? In popular terms, the vast majority of Chinese people understand this higher ground as getting an education, becoming an official, making money, bringing glory to their ancestors, and bringing honor to the country. Look at Chinese history and then examine China's current situation. The core essence of this higher ground is becoming an official. Even if one is a minor official, his position is still considered higher than that of common people. Not to mention county governors, provincial governors, and central government officials. In China, once someone becomes an official for even a single day, they and those around them rise with them. Any truth will always be on the side of the officials. Envy abounds. Even if it's just a section chief, the way they walk, their manner of speaking, the expression in their eyes, and the height at which they hold their head are all different from others. You can't help but respect them, fawn over them, flatter them, and accept them. So, without a doubt, the so-called people aim for higher ground has had its mystery uncovered. It's all about striving to become an official, running for office, trying to be an official, and holding on to that position. All other pursuits are inferior. Only becoming an official is high. What do scholars amount to? Aren't they just there to serve the officials? What does money amount to? If you don't curry favor with officials, who knows when that money might end up in their pockets? I wish everyone could be an official, even a high-ranking one, but unfortunately, even if a 30-person unit has 10 deputy section chiefs, the majority will still be common people. If we set our life's goal on becoming an official, we might never find peace in this life. Telling lies, speaking in empty words, making grandiose claims, deceiving and betraying each other, scheming, and covering things up will become routine. The saying goes, real men have to be ruthless. One can't be an official without deceit. Not taking bribes is a waste, with shifty eyes. If you're honest, serious, and hardworking, yet neither want to be a master nor a servant, then you are not cut out to be an official. You should quickly adjust your life goals and direction. So, how should you position your life? If you have the chance to be an official, I advise you to set your life goal on becoming one. The benefits of being an official are too numerous to count. I could talk about them for 3 days and nights without exhausting the subject. Mastering thick black theory and the art of war should help you get by. If you can't become an official, but you're good at flattery, currying favor, bootlicking, and harboring malicious intentions, then you might set your life goal on being a lackey. This way, you'll be assured of having leftover food to eat and dregs of wine to drink, which is better than being an honest, simple commoner. If you can't become an official through the usual means, you can still aim for it indirectly. Why not organize an opposition party to try to overthrow the current government? If by chance you succeed in toppling the regime, then those positions like ministers, governors, and county chiefs would be as easy to grab as something within arm's reach. a sure thing. How do you overthrow the current regime? Just loudly proclaim democracy, freedom, human rights, and equality, then keep a close watch on the regime's flaws, magnify them, and incite the masses to revolt. Promise them that once you're in power, everyone will be able to eat while sleeping, live in golden houses, and have beauties at their disposal. This way, you'll be successful. Set your life goal on this, and your future is limitless. But if you end up in prison or lose your head, you shouldn't regret it. You can even borrow the compassionate words of Kitagarbha Bodhisattva. If I don't go to hell, who will? To demonstrate your noble righteousness. If you like wealth, then position your life's goal on maximizing profit. Don't bother with things like conscience, morality, and other baseless concepts. When running a business or company, not only must you use your sharp mind, but more importantly, you must maximize the exploitation of your subordinate surplus value. Marx has already elaborated deeply on surplus value. You just need to use it in reverse, and you should be able to make money. Of course, relying solely on surplus value carries risks, so you must focus on 3 areas. 1. Surplus value. 2. Local government and party leaders. And 3. Local thugs. What does this mean? It means you need to oppress and exploit your workers, cozy up to local leaders, including those at the tax bureau, and maintain ties with local gangsters. As long as you have a few tough guys under your command, not only will the common folk not dare to oppose you, but even officials will think twice before acting. If you don't have such abilities, you can still exploit legal loopholes and corruption. If you mortgage a property and get a loan of $100,000 from the bank, don't spend it recklessly. Spend it all on the officials. This way, you can get $1 million more. Spend that on the officials again, and from then on, the sky's the limit and the sea is wide for you to leap. You could grab land, drive out the original residents, and sell the land for a profit. If that doesn't work, persuade the officials you've bribed to sell you a government enterprise at a low price, flip it, and you'll have a fortune. If that doesn't work, you could always counterfeit liquor or medicine, or rebrand cheap goods with famous labels and sell them for a profit. Or lure rural girls into the city, intimidate them into doing whatever you want, and just make sure you keep the local thugs happy. As long as you pay them off from time to time, no matter how policies change, you'll keep making money. There are endless ways to make money as long as you're clever. If you don't want to dream of being an official or getting rich, you could set your life goal on becoming famous. Birds leave their song and people leave their names. To be famous throughout history, to leave a lasting legacy, is not a bad goal. Even if you end up being cursed for eternity and your name becomes synonymous with infamy, at least you've left a mark. Why not? There are many shortcuts to fame. In today's information age, not only are there countless newspapers, magazines, and books, but TV and radio networks are also interwoven, and the internet is booming. There's a saying that goes, all the world's writing is a patchwork. It's all about how well you can piece it together. With a little organization and elaboration, borrowing bits from here and there, a scholarly paper can be produced in days, and a book can be finished in months. With a little help from your friends in the publicity department and some promotion by big-name celebrities, scholars, and experts, you can quickly rise to fame. Why care about the old saying, if words are of no benefit, speak less? Let's become famous first. Don't bother with original creations. It's too hard. Racking your brains and exhausting your mind is one thing, but dealing with your wife and kids' complaints is another. If, after all that effort, you find that your work was already considered trite, that's a disaster. If no one reads your articles and your books don't sell, you'll be left giving them away for free on the streets. Aside from a few cheap compliments from friends and relatives, you won't gain much fame, and it's just not worth it. To become famous by writing articles, the best trick is to criticize. Criticize ancestors, criticize predecessors, criticize celebrities, criticize government officials, and even criticize your parents. This way, you'll quickly gain recognition. As for the consequences, don't worry about them. Get famous first. In China, the best targets for criticism are Lu Xun, Mao Zedong, and Hu Jintao. Such articles are sure to grab attention. If you don't like that approach, I have another trick for you. Collect strange theories, odd stories, unorthodox methods, gossip, and idle talk from travelers, compile them into a book, and it's guaranteed to be a bestseller. Or, why not strip down and parade around the streets? Who knows, you might even get on TV or go viral on the internet. Fame is so easy to achieve. Isn't this a fast-paced world? If someone can get rich overnight, why can't we become famous overnight? To stand out, you need to use unconventional methods. Didn't they say, nothing in the world is difficult for one who sets his mind to it? If you're determined to be famous, why worry about having no path to follow? If you do not wish to set your life's goals on becoming an official, accumulating wealth, or gaining fame, why not start a gang? If you succeed, you can live a luxurious life, enjoying food, drinks, and power. As they say, heroes get the beautiful women, and you might even have a few ladies fawning over you. How glamorous and carefree. Of course, your freedom may be somewhat restricted. You might get a knock on your door in the middle of the night. But as the saying goes, if you don't risk your life, you can't catch the wolf. Or, if you're afraid of dirtying your pants, you won't reach the roof. Just go for it, and if things don't work out, so what? After all, in 18 years, you'll be a hero again. Not interested in all these? Why not set your life's goal on creating a religion? Today, religious freedom is globally upheld. Even the United Nations doesn't interfere. Whoever interferes with religious freedom will surely face consequences. So what are you afraid of? Chinese culture is rich and profound, providing endless material to draw from. All you need to do is create some kind of mystical method or cultivation practice. People are afraid of death and long for prosperity, longevity, and immortality. If you can convince them that your practice can cure diseases or extend life, they will flock to you. When the time is right, with election freedom, you could even turn your practice or belief system into a political party, with the potential to compete for the chairman or president. What? Creating a new religion is too difficult? Come on, my friend. If starting a new religion is hard, then why not start a sect? There are hundreds of Christian denominations and Buddhist sects. Just familiarize yourself with some scriptures, and with the right banner, you can immediately establish a new religion. What? The government won't allow it? Well, why not create a house church? As long as you hold onto the scriptures and fly the banner of God, Christ, or Buddha, you have religious freedom. International religious organizations will even cheer for you. As for what you do, who has the time to investigate in detail? What? You're worried about answering people's questions or explaining the scriptures. My dear friend, how many people today can truly explain the scriptures? Most just copy and paste from various sources and get by. Can't you bluff your way through as well? Don't like this either? Too tiring? Then learn fortune-telling. Books on fortune-telling are everywhere. You can even find them in trash bins. Grab one, memorize a few sections, and after a few days of practice, you're ready to start. You must act convincingly, with a mysterious aura. Be bold in your predictions, but don't get into too many details. Learn to be vague and ambiguous, so people are left guessing. With this, you can earn a living. Don't worry about no repeat customers. Even if only a fraction of China's 1.2 billion people falls for it once, you'd still make a fortune. Just charge each person 1 yuan, and you will earn 100 million. But be sure to use guerrilla tactics like in tunnel warfare, moving from place to place to avoid trouble. The main roads are crowded. Isn't it time you wised up? The main roads are crowded. Isn't it time you wised up? What? You want to make money in cities or tourist areas? That's not hard either. Partner with the right people, rent a temple or pagoda, put on a monk's robe, place a Buddha statue in the center and a censer in front, letting incense smoke fill the air. Then, chant some mantras, and you'll find that the offerings alone will sustain you for life. If you're a bit cleverer, point out a specific benefactor as special, or say they have a divine aura or are facing a calamity. They won't hesitate to pay. Today, there are many city dwellers who are devout believers. Who doesn't want peace, wealth, or blessings from Buddha? Who doesn't want a prosperous family? If you can tap into these desires, even PhD holders and scholars will pay, let alone wealthy business executives and corrupt officials. They have money to spare, and all you need to do is make them happy. If your personality isn't suited to becoming an official, amassing wealth, gaining fame, creating religion, organizing a gang, or fortune-telling, then just live honestly as an ordinary person. Ordinary people have many paths too. Farmers, herders, foresters, fishermen, workers, taxi drivers, small vendors, teachers, civil servants, soldiers, police officers, store clerks, service workers, small business owners, actors, broadcasters, pilots, and so on are all ordinary occupations. Those engaged in photography, painting, tourism, music, dance, art, editing, or journalism also fall under the category of ordinary people. Even stamp collectors, antique dealers, stock traders, entertainers, brokers, and intermediaries are just ordinary people's professions. Those who work in philosophy, archaeology, biochemistry, economics, literature, engineering, research, sports, law, politics, astronomy, geography, etc., if they achieve results, become experts above the common people. If not, they are also ordinary people. As for singers, writers, movie stars, martial artists, and sports celebrities, they are individuals with special talents and belong to a unique group of ordinary people. No matter where we position ourselves in the category of ordinary people, our journey of life is inevitably difficult and winding, filled with confusion and misfortune, sorrow, and helplessness. The ending is always tragic. The truth is, it's all for a meal, for survival, for staying alive. No matter how we position ourselves in life, if we fail to understand the meaning, purpose, and value of life, and the mysteries of life, it doesn't matter if we are kings or commoners, rich or poor, thieves or petty criminals, famous or obscure. In the end, we all face meaningless death. Don't think that the death of an ant king is more valuable or meaningful than that of a common bee, or that a tiger's death is more glorious than a mouse's. In the grand scheme of things, we are all just temporary pieces on a chessboard. So, how should we position our lives? This is where religion comes in. Religion seeks to transcend reality and point to the meaning of life and the direction of life's development. Whether it's Christianity, Buddhism, Islam, Taoism, Shinto, or other religions, their fundamental purpose is the same: through spiritual cultivation, to extend human life into heaven. But there's a dilemma. There are so many religions and sects in the world, and once you transcend worldly barriers, you face the challenge of how to position yourself beyond the mundane. Should you become a Christian or a Buddhist? Should you believe in Islam or Shinto? If you choose the wrong path, you may end up with eternal regret. You might fail at worldly life and miss out on heaven, losing on both fronts. It's time to think deeply. No matter where you position yourself in the secular world, it leads to a dead end. If you position yourself poorly in transcending the mundane, not only does it lead to a dead end, but it also makes your life neither fish nor fowl, with no clear direction. The future may seem bright, but it could be self-deception. So, how should you position your life? Here are my suggestions. First, study the scriptures of various religions, compare them, and integrate scientific theories and empirical experiences. Identify what is reasonable and discard what is not. Observe the heavens, the earth, humanity, and all things. Gain your own insights, especially through spiritual meditation. Ensure that your real-life experience is meaningful and enjoyable. Free your mind and strive to achieve the greatest possible freedom. Your life must have value and meaning for life, nature, and human society. Do not blindly follow any path unless you fully understand it. If someone wants you to believe, ask them to explain the principles clearly. Focus your efforts on matters of life. After adhering to these 8 principles, position yourself accordingly. This will be your best life positioning. To understand Xiefeng's life positioning, please refer to the Xiefeng corpus. Yin Shi Ao Mi. Secrets of Diet. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. The key principles of diet are slow, soft, and warm. This is basic common knowledge in health studies, meaning that the pace of eating should be slow, the food should be soft, and the temperature should be warm. Fast, hard, cold, and hot are major taboos in maintaining health through diet. However, the true secret of diet does not lie in being slow, soft, or warm, but in the heart, in the mindset of the eater toward the food. From experiments on water molecule crystallization, we know that the structure of molecules changes with a person's mindset. From quantum mechanics, we learn that the behavior of fundamental particles is related to the observer's consciousness. Food, as a substance composed of molecules and fundamental particles, undoubtedly has a molecular structure closely related to the eater's mindset, and its behavior within the body is also closely tied to the eater's consciousness. Life Chanuan's dietary theory is as follows. Regardless of what food we consume, we should always maintain a sense of gratitude. Keeping a heart filled with gratitude is the secret to maximizing the energy obtained from food. When we feel grateful, the internal molecular structure of all foods, including water, transforms into a beautiful structure that benefits human health. When we eat with a positive mindset, the fundamental particles of the food quickly and joyfully enter the digestive system and are rapidly absorbed by the body. This not only improves the utilization of the food's nutritional value, but also minimizes food waste. True Christians have a good habit of praying before meals to thank God for the food. This is the secret of diet. This practice is essentially a way of reprocessing the food, optimizing its nutritional components, and maximizing the effective nutritional value utilized by the body. People who enjoy drinking know that drinking with close friends or people who share similar temperaments makes it hard to get drunk, even after many drinks. In contrast, drinking with opponents or people of incompatible temperaments makes it easier to get drunk after just a few drinks. The atmosphere at the table directly affects the effects of alcohol. The degree of intoxication is not mainly due to the alcohol itself, but to the drinker's mindset. Most people know from experience that food consumed when angry is prone to causing indigestion and gastrointestinal issues, while food consumed in a joyful mood, even when eaten in excess, is easier to digest. This is a result of the mindset while eating. Therefore, we should maintain a joyful and grateful mindset while eating. This is the true secret of dietary health. Remember, when people are in a joyful state, their mental state is at its best, their thinking is sharpest, and their spirit is most beautiful. Similarly, food consumed in a joyful state has the highest nutritional value and is easiest to absorb and digest. Therefore, food also needs joy. So when you eat, make sure to bring joy to the food. Tell the food, "You are beautiful, you are fragrant, you look great, thank you." In response, the food will say, "The host is wonderful, the host is good, the host is elegant, thank you, host." Why not do it? People who have endured hardships or have a beautiful soul are most likely to be grateful. For someone like me, Xiefeng, who has endured hunger, I understand the value and preciousness of food. Therefore, I rarely suffer from gastrointestinal diseases. My eating habits are irregular and chaotic. I eat cold and hard foods without hesitation, leftover dishes without complaint, and even moldy or spoiled food. When I am happy, I can eat as much as 2 meals in one sitting, and sometimes only a little in a day. My wife jealously says, "The greatest creator is so biased, giving you a healthy stomach." But she doesn't know that it's not about the stomach, but about my attitude toward food. I am someone who almost starved to death, so I have a natural appreciation for food. My speed of eating is renowned. During school, while other students chewed slowly after getting their food from the dining hall, I would immediately start eating while walking, and by the time I reached the dormitory, I had already finished my food. Generally, I finish a meal in no more than 10 minutes, if not for considering those around me. Taiji Celestial, Wanyan Celestial, and Tianshan Celestial have all experienced my eating speed. I never consider the nutritional value of the food. I eat whatever is available and don't think about the nutritional balance. During my 4 years of high school, I never had breakfast, only ate a cornmeal bun for lunch, and had simple noodle soup for dinner. There was no meat, and vegetables were scarce. During those 4 years, I don't remember having any illnesses. My body was very thin but strong. No matter how rough or simple the food, as long as it fills my stomach and prevents hunger, I am satisfied. This has been my greatest desire for food throughout my life. Moreover, with the abundance of food now, I feel like I'm living in heaven, just in terms of eating. Especially when eating fruits like apples and watermelons, the first thought that comes to mind is the greatest creator. The fruits are perfectly made by the greatest creator, with just the right amount of moisture and sweetness, making them endlessly enjoyable and never tiresome. So, people, be grateful when drinking water or eating food. This is not only beneficial for your physical health, but also for your mental well-being. Embrace a mindset of gratitude while eating. This is the secret of diet. Remember it well. 知晓来生益处多. The many benefits of knowing about the afterlife. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. There is a story about two like-minded explorers on an adventure in a desert. After losing their way, they found that the water they carried was only enough to sustain them for half a day. They were left with a dilemma. They could either share the remaining water and eventually perish together, or one person could stay behind while the other took all the water to search for a way out and find a new water source, promising to return for the one who stayed. Since death seemed inevitable, they decided to take a slim chance at survival. One person stayed behind, and the gun was left with him. They agreed that the one who stayed would fire the gun every 2 hours to help the other person determine their direction and eventually find him. At first, the person who stayed behind still had hope. He lay in a sandpit and fired the gun every 2 hours, but each time he was met with endless silence. After 4 shots, his spirit was on the brink of collapse, with only 1 bullet left. His thoughts wandered to his home and loved ones, and an overwhelming sense of helplessness seized his heart. How he longed to live. However, he thought he was being rational. He believed his companion would not return. If he fired the last shot into the air, he would eventually die of thirst. He did not want to endure such suffering, so he bravely placed the gun to his head and fired, ending his precious life. Half an hour later, his companion, carrying enough water, found him, guided by the sound of the final gunshot. A tragedy that could have been avoided occurred because the one left behind could not see what the future held. If he had known that his companion had already found water and was on his way back, the tragedy would not have happened. Similar tragedies happen to humans every day, particularly to those who, under the guise of rationality, believe there is no afterlife and hold no hope for it. Whether from logical reasoning, global evidence proving the existence of an afterlife, the teachings of Jesus and Buddha, or the direct visions of those with spiritual insight, it is clear that life indeed continues beyond death. The main reason most people do not believe in the afterlife is that they are overly rational. Clearly, the companion was coming with water, but the person left in the desert could not see it. Because he could not see it, he rationally refused to believe it. Isn't this a tragedy? If we do not believe in an afterlife, then our only choice is to make the most of this life, to strive and toil in the present. If life has no afterlife, then all morality is hypocritical. Whoever can live better than others is deemed successful. In this view, fighting, robbing, oppressing, and coercion become justified. It becomes a matter of survival of the fittest. The successful are heroes, the failures are fools. It is about who is more cunning, who can outwit whom. The victor becomes the king, the defeated, a bandit. What use is there for conscience? What use for morality? If we do not believe in an afterlife, then in times of success, one might become complacent, arrogant, and lawless. In times of failure, one might blame the heavens, the earth, and their parents, becoming irritable and hostile towards society and nature. When all other options are exhausted, the only path left may be to point the gun at one's own head and pull the trigger, ending one's life. However, if we understand that life has an afterlife, we can leisurely enjoy life, whether this life is marked by success or failure. This life is merely one journey in the continuum of life. Why be overly concerned? In the end, heroes and fools alike are reduced to dust, leaving behind just a mound of dirt covered by grass. Only life continues to move forward. If we know there is an afterlife, we will not be distracted by fleeting illusions, but will view life as a process of profound transformation, focusing on how to shape a better future for our life. A life with hope and a life without it are fundamentally different. Those who do not acknowledge an afterlife face only a dead end, without hope. Facing death, they are left with helplessness and endless fear. But those who believe in the afterlife see a brighter future. They face death calmly, gracefully, and with optimism. Such a life is beyond the reach of those who live merely to survive. Some say, even if there is an afterlife, we do not know it in this life, so it has no meaning for the living. It is better to live each day as it comes and make the most of it. Without hope or faith in an afterlife, how can we live well? Even birds seem to live more joyfully than humans. Are we to live like animals? A person who believes in the afterlife has a fundamentally different inner world than one who does not. Noble ideals and the highest moral values are pursued and upheld by those who firmly believe in the afterlife, while inhumane laws and crimes are committed by those who do not. Is there an afterlife? Ask Jesus Christ. Ask Buddha Shakyamuni. Ask Xiefeng, and you will find the answer. 如何运用自由意志? How to use free will. Xiefeng. November 24th, 2015. Translation edited by Qin Yu. Humans possess free will. When the script and characters are set, how the story unfolds is determined by one's free will. People are incapable of fully aligning with the Tao. The very places where they fail to align with the Tao are precisely caused by the exercise of their free will. Humans think, weigh pros and cons, strategize, and seek benefits while avoiding harm. These are all manifestations of free will. People experience troubles, pain, anxiety, worry, and fear, and these feelings are the sensations of consciousness, further proving the existence of free will. When free will conflicts with the script storyline and character arrangements, these feelings are born. When we shop at a mall filled with a dazzling array of goods, we make choices, and this process of selection is a full expression of free will. Television has broadcast blind date programs, where the dating process is a demonstration of free will in action. If humans lacked free will, they would simply become biological robots, and the act of making choices would not occur. Chanyuan celestials living in the home should have experienced this. When you are in a one-on-one situation, you may internally resist the guide's instruction to avoid such interactions, even feeling that you are right and the guide is wrong. However, you dare not openly resist. On one hand, you want to follow the guide's direction, but on the other, you find it difficult to let go. As a result, confusion and pain arise within. This is the conflict between free will and the script storyline. The Buddha's teaching is no self. A person with no self has no free will. The Buddha's state is no self. If there is a self, then it is not the Buddha. The requirement for aligning with the Tao and heaven is to align one's free will with the program of the Tao and the laws of heaven, not to oppose them. In other words, one should willingly, joyfully, and happily align with the script's storyline and character arrangements, embodying each role naturally, step by step, with the heart and mind in harmony. Stubbornness is an extreme manifestation of free will. When asked to go east, you insist on going west. When asked to play, you insist on working. When asked to move, you insist on being still. When asked to take something off, you insist on putting something on. In this way, conflicts intensify, and suffering and calamities occur more frequently. By observing the people around you, historical figures, or characters in television dramas, you will find that those who are stubborn often lead difficult lives, experience misfortune, and meet unfortunate ends. This is why the Buddha taught us to eliminate attachment to the self. Each Chanyuan celestial living in the home can also discover this secret from personal experience. When you adhere to the Chanyuan values and strictly follow the guide's roadmap, you will experience happiness, joy, freedom, and well-being. However, when you violate the Chanyuan values and diverge from the guide's roadmap, you will feel suppressed, depressed, and uncomfortable, unable to enjoy happiness and freedom. This confusion is caused by the desire to exercise free will. The sage embraces the One to be a model for the world. Why embrace the One? Because embracing the One brings ease, simplicity, freedom, and happiness. Without embracing the One, every step becomes difficult and disaster is inevitable. In the universe, it means aligning with the greatest creator. In a nation, aligning with the head of the government. In a group, aligning with the highest authority. If you choose to oppose, it is like an egg striking a rock, leaving yourself battered and bruised. To embrace the One, you must eliminate attachment to the self, and to eliminate attachment to the self, you must curb your free will as much as possible when it conflicts with the storyline. Free will is a gift from the greatest creator, and anything given by the greatest creator should be used. Not using it is wrong, but how should it be used? The universal script is vast and complex. Only by opening the Dharma eye and Buddha eye can one glimpse some of its mysteries. By looking at the long river of history through the lens of centuries and millennia, by examining minute details, and by understanding the characteristics of the Tao and its laws of expression, one may gain some insight. Most people, however, have ordinary eyes and limited vision, unable to comprehend what this great script is portraying and how it is unfolding. The only broad and open road is to follow the way of the greatest creator, to listen to and adhere to the teachings and guidance of gods, Buddhas, celestial beings, and sages. Relying on our own limited wisdom to understand the truth of the universe is like climbing a tree to catch a fish. Using our own free will to find a shortcut to heaven is nothing more than a fool's dream. 我们是否应当保持善良? Should we maintain kindness? Xiefeng. October 8th, 2015. Translation edited by Qin Yu. All teachings of gods, Buddhas, celestial beings, and sages almost always revolve around kindness. The saying good deeds bring good rewards is a universal law. I believe that the teachings of gods, Buddhas, celestial beings, and sages are correct. People should be kind because kindness is the most beautiful flower in the soul garden. But the question is, what is kindness? Once, a group of black people pitifully called me daddy, and as a result, they scammed me out of hundreds of thousands of yuan. Was I being kind? I don't think I was kind. I was foolish. Once, I wholeheartedly cared for someone, but in the end, that person belittled and looked down on me. Was I being kind? I don't think I was kind. I was ignorant. Once, I sincerely praised a certain government, a certain party, and a certain leader, but they ended up taking over my home and driving me to the brink of despair. Was I being kind? I don't think I was kind. I was aiding the wicked. My praise was an irrational evil. If someone ends another person's life, is that kindness or evil? If you think it's evil, then you must oppose euthanasia, right? If you think it's kindness, then should many people be sent to their graves? When a cat catches a mouse, is the cat being kind or evil? When a bird eats a worm, and the worm eats crops, are the bird and the worm kind or evil? Ask a blooming poppy flower, is it kind or evil? I seem to have mentioned in elementary self-improvement that I neither want to be a good person nor a bad person. Living according to the Creator's intentions and the will of the greatest Creator, I believe, is true kindness. Shangfu Mo Xing. Conquering Demonic Nature. Xiefeng. November 7th, 2012. Translation edited by Qin Yu. There are demons in the universe, and they are on the same level as gods, Buddhas, and super-celestial beings, just beneath the greatest creator. Due to the holographic nature of the universe, all beings possess demonic nature, just as they possess divine, Buddha, and celestial nature. The nature that dominates a being determines whether they are a god, Buddha, demon, celestial being, or something else like a spirit, monster, human, or animal. If divine nature fills them, they are a god. If Buddha nature fills them, they are a Buddha. If demonic nature dominates, they are a demon. If human nature is dominant, they are human, and so on. It is easy for humans to become demons because human nature includes demonic nature. There are many TV stations on Earth broadcasting their signals. A television set has many channels corresponding to these broadcasts, and the program displayed depends on which channel the TV is tuned to. People are like televisions. When their consciousness is tuned to the demonic channel, they receive information from demons and are becoming demonic. Conversely, if tuned to the Buddha channel, they receive information from Buddhas and are moving closer to Buddhahood. Grass doesn't grow on stones, and few insects live on snowy mountains because the conditions for their existence are not present. A person dominated by divine or Buddha nature does not have the conditions to become demonic, but when someone exhibits the following characteristics, they are easily controlled by demons and can become one. Arrogance. Arrogance is the best condition for becoming demonic. Once a person becomes arrogant, they are on the same frequency as demons and have become a demonic offspring. Self-centeredness. When a person is self-centered in everything, disregarding nature, society, or others' feelings, and is always talking about their own viewpoints, understanding, insights, experiences, feelings, troubles, pains, and misfortunes, Always blaming others or society and never considering their own faults, they are prone to arguments, anger, and disputes. Such a person is on the path to becoming demonic. Secrecy. If someone acts in secret, afraid of being discovered, often talks behind others' backs, spreads rumors, or digs into others' private matters, they are close to being demonic. Greed and deceit. An insatiable desire for wealth and power, wanting to possess all the good things in the world, with a heart full of private desires and greed, leads to the use of any means to achieve one's goals. This includes being ruthless, deceitful, and engaging in all sorts of evils. This is demonic. Mystical deception. Lacking facts, science, logic, or spiritual awareness, using the guise of being in touch with gods, Buddhas, or higher beings to achieve selfish goals, using spiritual powers, spells, witchcraft, or dreams to confuse and control others. This is demonic. Intense jealousy. Instead of appreciating and praising all things beautiful, attacking and destroying them. Instead of encouraging and affirming others' strengths and possessions, finding ways to undermine and condemn them. Instead of learning from others' merits and virtues, constantly criticizing and blaming. This leads to envy and destruction, which is demonic behavior. Extreme selfishness. Never grateful or appreciative, everything revolves around satisfying oneself. When their desires are not met, they either scream hysterically or harbor silent hatred. Any dissatisfaction leads them to throw away the greatest Creator's grace and others' kindness. The saying "white-eyed wolf" refers to such people. These individuals are unwilling to take responsibility, never finding fault in themselves but always blaming others for any mistakes. They always consider their own feelings but never care about others' feelings, being unreasonable and incomprehensible. They always think others treat them poorly without considering whether they treat others poorly. This is a sign of demonic nature. Threatening with death. Whenever dissatisfied or frustrated, constantly threatening others with death to force them to meet their demands or desires. This is the behavior of a demonic offspring. These 8 traits, arrogance, self-centeredness, secrecy, greed and deceit, mystical deception, intense jealousy, extreme selfishness, and threatening with death, are the conditions and soil for becoming demonic. When these traits are present, one will be on the path to demonic control, becoming a demonic offspring. How to conquer demonic nature? Answer: reverence for the greatest Creator, for life, and for nature. Let the light of the greatest Creator fill your heart and strengthen your faith in walking the way of the greatest Creator. Live humbly, prioritize giving, be honest and open in all actions. Avoid spiritualism and the display of spiritual powers, spells, witchcraft. Don't fabricate dreams. Always see the good in others and society and rejoice in others' happiness. Analyze and judge matters from others' perspectives. Remain calm in all situations. Never threaten others with death and avoid extreme actions. By doing so, you can conquer your demonic nature, walk the way of light and happiness, and ultimately attain supreme authentic enlightenment and reach the blissful realms. If you do not conquer your demonic nature, you will suffer greatly and fall into the lower level of life, enduring endless pain. 人的仇敌会是自己家里的人. Your enemies will be the members of your own household. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. Matthew 10 verse 36 states, "A man's enemies will be the members of his own household." If these words were spoken by an ordinary person, they would likely be met with outrage, possibly leading to their expulsion from the family or being labeled as ungrateful, disrespectful, or even insane. The issue is that these words were spoken by the Son of God, the Savior of humanity, Jesus Christ. It's hard to fathom why the members of one's own household would be considered one's enemies. Aren't family members the ones who care about our daily needs, our comfort and pain? Would strangers be concerned about us? Without our family members, what reason would there be to continue living? If we don't care for our family, can we still be considered human? If our family members are our enemies, should we abandon them and leave home? That seems absurd. But hold on, Jesus' words carry profound meaning. This statement is not directed at ordinary people, but at those who wish to walk the path of the greatest Creator, at sages and saints. As Jesus said, "Do not give what is holy to dogs, and do not throw your pearls before pigs, lest they trample them underfoot and turn to tear you to pieces. The Buddha only taught the Dharma to those who sought the Mahayana, the highest path, not to those content with lesser vehicles. The celestial Laozi also said, "The highest type of man hears the Tao and practices it diligently. The average man hears the Tao and practices it now and then. The lowest type of man hears the Tao and laughs at it loudly. If he did not laugh, it would not be the Tao." Jesus came to save us, to lead us to the kingdom of heaven, which is to say, to enjoy the blissful life of the kingdom of the greatest Creator. According to the revelations of Life Genuine, this means breaking free from the constraints of human existence and living in heaven. The 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, and the Elysium world. How can a person on earth live in heaven? My fellow townsfolk, comrades, friends, and brothers, this is not an easy task. It requires a complete transformation, transcending the ordinary. Jesus taught us, "Truly I tell you, you will not get out until you have paid the last penny." What Jesus means is that if we do not repay all our earthly debts, even down to the last penny, we will never escape the bonds of this world and enter heaven. It is said, when given a drop of water, one should repay it with a spring, and repaying debts is a universal truth. Favors are not debts, but in times of need, one might sell even their cooking pot, goes the saying. No matter what kind of debt it is, monetary, emotional, or even a blood debt, if we owe it, we must repay it. If we cannot repay it in this life, we will have to repay it in the next, even if it means becoming oxen, horses, pigs, or dogs. Until all debts are settled, we can forget about living in heaven. Here's the problem. Throughout our lives, how much debt have we accumulated with our family members? The debt of our parents' nurturing, the debt of our children's filial piety, the debt of the care and help from siblings and relatives, and the debt of the unwavering love and care from our spouses. How do we repay these debts? If we cannot repay these debts, we cannot enter the kingdom of heaven and enjoy its beautiful life. With this in mind, aren't our family members the stumbling blocks preventing us from reaching heaven? Aren't they our enemies? Furthermore, when we wish to focus on spiritual cultivation, to leave the secular world behind, to aspire to the life of heaven and engage in discussions with fellow seekers, to devote all our time and energy to selfless, willing service, who holds us back? Isn't it our family members? Aren't these family members our enemies? Living in this world, when will it ever be enough? When will the suffering of this world end? The pain of separation by death, illness, disaster, unfulfilled desires, the worries of food, clothing, shelter, and transportation. How long will it last? The burdens of electricity bills, water bills, fuel costs, phone bills, transportation fees, tuition fees, and so on. When will it all come to an end? When humanity's wisdom was relatively shallow, and we had no understanding of the life of heaven or the way to it, a bad life is better than a good death. But now that we are on the brink of universal awakening, with some standing at the forefront of subconscious awakening and a multitude of angels descending to earth to clearly depict the scenes of heaven, the 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, and the Elysium world, and point out the way to it, it is better to die a good death than live a bad life. We should strive to break free from the bonds of family and the inherent consciousness of humanity and wholeheartedly march toward heaven. What does it mean to be reborn? What does it mean to transcend the mundane? Can one be reborn easily? Can one transcend the mundane while clinging to thoughts of bringing glory to one's ancestors and leaving a lasting legacy? If one cannot let go of anything, personal biases, narrow-minded views, or the belief that the world revolves around oneself, how can one transcend the mundane? If one cannot let go of one's country, ethnicity, political party, religion, or family, how can one transcend the mundane? If one cannot let go of one's spouse, how can one transcend the mundane and ascend to the clouds? This is mine. That is mine. What is truly yours? When you die, none of it is yours. The debts you owe are yours. Some ignorant people think death ends all debts. Keep dreaming. Even after death, you must continue to repay your debts. Death is not the final destination of life. There is no way to settle all your debts through death. Stop burning incense and kowtowing. and start repaying your debts. The people in your household are your enemies. Repay their debts first. Until every penny is repaid, forget about living in heaven. People, guard your spouses, families, ethnicities, religions, political parties, and countries well, for they are your tickets to reincarnation. Wealthy people, guard your money well, for it is your ticket to hell. 从人到仙的八大觉悟，智慧篇93. The Eight Great Awakenings from Human to Celestial Being, the Chapter of Wisdom. Article 93. Xiefeng. January 12, 2010. Translation edited by Qin Yu. The awakened are like rice and wheat. The ignorant are like weeds and grass. The awakened are like light and fragrance. The ignorant are like darkness and stench. The awakened ascend step by step, while the ignorant stumble into ditches. The awakened are beacons of light. The ignorant are tangled messes. Awareness refers to sensation and perception. Enlightenment refers to reflecting on these perceptions. Awakening means moving from confusion to clarity, from obscurity to distinctness, from chaos to order, and from darkness to light. An awakened being is a Buddha. An awakened being is a celestial being. The purpose of awakening is to free oneself from troubles, escape the sea of suffering, exit the realm of inevitability, and reach the shore of freedom. The best shortcut to awakening: board the Dharma ship created by Buddha Shakyamuni, follow the course guided by Christ Jesus, and adhere to the route guided by the Dayform Buddha, heading towards the kingdom of the ancestral Buddha, the greatest creator, the Elysium world. The transition from the human realm to the heavenly realm, from human to celestial being, requires 8 great awakenings. Awakening to life. Life is a non-material structure with spirituality. It undergoes endless transmigrations without annihilation. Awakening to life and death. Life and death are only appearances, not essences, forms, not truth. Boundless grasses across the plains come and go with every season. Wildfires never quite consume them. They are tall once more in the spring wind. When your boat reaches the other shore, you simply disembark. Awakening to karma. You reap what you sow, cucumbers for cucumbers, beans for beans, and heaven's net is vast, yet nothing escapes it. Awakening to space. There are 20 parallel worlds in the universe, 36 dimensional spaces, and paradises and hells. Paradises are for perfect lives. Hells are for defective ones. There are different spaces of life for different life states. Each life lives in a space corresponding to their life state. Awakening to predestined relationships. All relationships are predestined. Relationships with ghosts will drop one to the netherworld. Relationships with celestial beings will raise one to a fairyland. If one's debts are not paid off, they cannot get out of their plight. And if one does not have enough merits and virtue, they cannot reach the fairyland. Awakening to mind and nature. Reality is a projection of consciousness. Consciousness creates reality. Form gives birth to the mind, but mind can transcend over form. Minds are the most important of the 3 realms, and consciousness is the most important of all rules. Fragrances will attract butterflies to flowers, and pure hearts will be frequented by celestial beings. Minds that do not abide anywhere are Tathagata. Nature is the characteristic of structure. It is Buddha. Awakening to the 8 diagram arrays. The universe has 36, 8 diagram arrays, and they are the sources of games. They are full of fun. For example, power, money, fame, gain, carnal pleasure, and affection are 8 diagram arrays from which no one can detach themselves once they become entrapped. It is only after one has acquired supreme authentic wisdom that they can transcend beyond the 3 realms and escape the 5 elements. Awakening to the true origin. Everything has its source, its origin. Consciousness, structure, and energy are the 3 constituent elements of the universe. All others are as a dream, an illusion, a bubble, a shadow, as dew and lightning. Thus, you should meditate upon them. The greatest creator is the source of everything and therefore the real origin. If you understand him and follow his way, then any of the 84,000 methods will lead you to a smooth path. Otherwise, you will be at the edge of a cliff. How does one awaken? If one can achieve harmony of body and soul through self-improvement and self-refinement, they will cultivate true spirit, great talent, and concentrated virtues within themselves. Without the great aspiration, it is difficult to grasp the profundities of the universe and to awaken fully. By accomplishing the following, the light within their soul will shine brighter, their consciousness will grow clearer, and they will ultimately awaken. Hold and maintain the One. Be free from ego and selfishness. Revere the greatest creator, life, and nature wholeheartedly. Follow the way of the greatest creator. Dedicate your heart and soul to creating a reality where the talented are valued. The world becomes one big family. No one pockets anything found on the ground, and doors are left unbolted at night. Foster a harmonious world where the wind and rain come in their time, and everyone is happy, joyous, free, and blessed. 小脑和大脑智慧篇91 The Cerebellum and the Brain. The Chapter of Wisdom. Article 91. Xiefeng. November 18, 2009. Translation edited by Qin Yu. In terms of intelligence, there are four types of people. Both the cerebellum and the brain are intelligent. Both the cerebellum and the brain are unintelligent. The cerebellum is intelligent, but the brain is unintelligent. The cerebellum is unintelligent, but the brain is intelligent. The characteristics and behaviors of these four types of people are as follows. Both the cerebellum and the brain are intelligent. Always embrace unity, staying aligned with the top leader and in harmony with core figures. Consistently associate with excellent and successful people. Avoid deep interactions with fools and maintain limited contact with them. Agile and flexible, not rigidly adhering to dogmas or doctrines, and acting solely to achieve ultimate goals. Never anger or trouble those who hold significant value in one's life. Avoid arguments, instead firmly pursuing personal goals. Diligent and hardworking, meticulous in all tasks, wise in major issues and cautious in minor ones. Independent-minded, clear about priorities, urgency, and not swayed by trends or emotions. Adaptable and harmonious, avoiding conflicts unless absolutely necessary, being kind to others, and not harming life. 2. Both the cerebellum and the brain are unintelligent. Frequently oppose the top leader and create conflicts with core figures. Always making suggestions, criticizing others, meddling in affairs, nagging, and seeking attention. Lacks a clear stance, unsure of their identity and significance, unable to differentiate priorities and urgency. Unable to determine what is most important in life or who is most important to them. Unable to accomplish big tasks, unwilling to do small tasks, and even if they do them poorly. Lacks tolerance, has a bad temper, is superficial, shows off, with high self-regard but low self-awareness. Confused and often used as a test subject or sacrificed by others, still blindly loyal. Lacks personal beliefs and convictions, lacks foundation, drifting aimlessly like a leaf in the wind. 3. The cerebellum is intelligent, but the brain is unintelligent. Knowledgeable and experienced but lacks wisdom, unclear about who the top leader is. Active in doing things and achieving results, but overly focused on oneself, often considering oneself important. Adheres to principles and regulations but frequently offends others, especially those close or helpful. Smart and capable of learning and doing many things, but loves to show off and stubbornly sticks to their own views. Good at reading people and adapting to situations, but lacks persistence and a firm goal. Skilled at self-preservation but fails to protect the top leader, focusing only on protecting oneself rather than the group. Quick to spot others' shortcomings but lacks self-awareness. Adaptable but lacks a solid foundation, often neglecting the importance of a strong base while focusing on change. 4. The cerebellum is unintelligent, but the brain is intelligent. Knows who the top leader is and respects them but relies too much on trivial cleverness. Has firm beliefs, clear goals, and understands many principles but is too lazy to practice them. Has grand ambitions and clear plans, good at untangling confusion but lacks integrity and is overly cunning. Always wants to do big things but shirks small tasks, being careless and unmindful in minor matters. Too shrewd, making it difficult for others to trust them sincerely, creating a sense of unease. Overly rational and intimidating, making deep emotional connections challenging. Understands outlines and key points, maintains alignment with core figures, but lacks refinement and artistic expression, leading to embarrassing situations. Possesses courage, strategy, wisdom, and insight, but lacks spiritual sensitivity, neglecting the development of the inner self. 一伤处便是薄弱缺陷处，智慧篇89. That which is easily hurt is weak and flawed. The Chapter of Wisdom. Article 89. Xiefeng. October 30th, 2009. Let us first observe some phenomena. A cracked egg becomes a place where flies and other insects swarm. If the egg were intact, these insects would not come to lay their eggs. The parts of fruit that first rot are those that have been bruised or bitten by insects. Where balloons burst, springs bend, branches break, and ropes fray are all at the weakest and most effective points. Places with corpses are where crows, eagles, and other scavengers gather. To manipulate someone, spies, gangsters, politicians, and schemers first identify the person's weak points and defects. For example, if someone is lustful, they use seduction. If they are greedy for money, they bribe them with large sums. If they crave fame and vanity, they flatter and praise them. If they are power-hungry, they promise high positions. Using provocations can trick hot-headed individuals like Zhang Fei. Using contempt can spur courageous people like Guan Yu into action. Using superior skills can infuriate self-satisfied perfectionists like Zhou Yu. If a certain part of the body is frequently in pain, it indicates dysfunction or lack of health in that area. It has been proven that vulnerable areas are indeed weak points and defects. Practicing self-improvement means identifying and strengthening one's weak points and correcting one's defects. The more perfected an area is, the less likely it is to be harmed, and the more imperfect an area is, the more likely it is to suffer harm and attack. Xiang Yu, the warlord, once captured the father of Liu Bang, who would later become the first emperor of the Han dynasty, and threatened to cook him to coerce Liu Bang into surrendering. Liu Bang, however, calmly responded that if Xiang Yu decided to cook his father, he should serve him a bowl of the soup afterward, causing Xiang Yu's threat to fail. Another example involves Zhuge Liang, the renowned strategist, who once sent Sima Yi a set of women's clothing, intending to insult him according to the societal values of the time, provoke his anger, and thereby force him to recklessly leave the city and engage in battle. However, Sima Yi took the opposite approach by putting on the women's clothes and cheerfully telling the messenger that the attire, sent by Chancellor Zhuge, fit well and looked nice, thus thanking him and foiling Zhuge Liang's plan. People are imperfect and always have their weaknesses and defects. To make someone betray their conscience or soul, to compel them to face danger or hardship, to deceive them, to make them lose their rationality, or to make them voluntarily be driven or enslaved, one can use money, reputation, status, beauty, magic, divine powers, visions of paradise, threats, intimidation, coercion, emotions, morality, benevolence, truth, promises, and so on to satisfy their greed or instill fear. If a person remains unaffected by these factors, then no matter what schemes are employed, they remain unmoved, and such a person is perfect, a saint. By progressing a little further from this foundation, they become a celestial being or a Buddha. Everyone should examine their own weaknesses and defects, asking themselves what they need most, what they fear most, what they are most averse to, what they love and hate most. Once these what-s are clarified, one will understand what needs to be strengthened and cultivated. For instance, if one desperately desires magical powers or divine abilities, they will inevitably be manipulated by so-called masters who claim to possess such powers. If one is eager to reach paradise, those who exploit religious sentiments can make one delirious and confused, like a person lost in madness. If one loves their country intensely, politicians can easily send them to the battlefield as cannon fodder. If one places great importance on family and personal relationships, societal mechanisms can bind their mind to family duties, causing a lifetime of toil and preventing them from achieving individuality and freedom. If one values the pure and perfect love of a lover, partner, or spouse, they may suffer from jealousy, anger, and irrationality. They may become consumed by emotions, losing rationality, and experiencing endless suffering. They may pledge their life and death for love, tossing and turning in anguish, unable to find peace. When there is no obstruction, there is no pain. When there is obstruction, there is pain. This principle applies not only to the physical body, but also to the mind and spirit. When one cannot think things through, the obstruction causes distress, pain, frustration, and confusion. For example, if someone insults you by saying you are not even a thing, you may feel unbearable pain and anger. But if you think it through, you will realize that a person is inherently a person, not a thing. So why be troubled by such words? If a third party comes between you and your lover, you may feel as if your heart has been stabbed or a piece of your flesh has been cut out. However, if you think it through, you will realize that the mountains and rivers are like dust, and human life, though it may last 100 years, passes in the blink of an eye. The ever-changing emotions between people are unreliable and cannot last forever. So why be troubled by illusions within illusions and dreams within dreams? Similarly, if someone cheats you out of your money or deprives you of your rights, or if you lose everything for some other reason, you may feel deep regret and despair. But if you think it through, you will realize that people come into this world empty-handed and leave empty-handed. A lifetime of striving for possession and ownership ultimately ends in letting go. As long as you have your health, misfortune may be a blessing in disguise, and you may find new opportunities and discover new horizons. All phenomena are empty, neither arising nor ceasing, neither defiled nor pure, neither increasing nor decreasing. Worries and fears arise from attachments in the heart. If the heart is free from attachments, there will be no worries, fears, suffering, or disputes, and no disturbances from worldly matters. Without easy-to-injure spots, there will be no faults, leading to a state of enlightenment, reaching the realm of celestial beings. The more one possesses, the more troubles one will have. If one reaches a state of having nothing and possessing everything, it is not easy to be harmed. Without self, what can harm me? I have no power, no money, no fame, no lust, no emotion, no status, no country, no religion, no political party, no class, no family, no relatives, no lover, no property, no teacher, no school, no attachment, no organization, no sect, no greed, no desire, no anger, no ignorance. The mind is not attached to anything, no action, no contention, no desire for magic, no desire for supernatural powers, no desire to achieve great things, no form of lifetime, no form of others, no form of morality, no form of justice, no laws, no rules, no precepts, no taboos. We adapt to circumstances, embrace relationships as they naturally come and go, act according to our natures, and seize opportunities as they arise. How can I be harmed? Where can I be injured? What is destined to come will come, and what is destined to go will go. Do not cling, do not be attached. Life is a journey of life through the human world. When the journey ends, a new life begins elsewhere. When you can let go completely at any time, where can you be injured? In summary, we are easily injured because we are imperfect and too attached to the fleeting. As we approach perfection and enrich our inner selves, external factors will have less power to harm us. At this point, we are close to becoming celestial beings, Buddhas, and entering the kingdom of freedom and the Elysium world. 宿命及宿命的超越 Fate and Transcending Fate. Xiefeng. September 22, 2008. The doctrine of fatalism asserts that all changes and developments in everything, including the birth, aging, illness, death, fortune, and misfortune, longevity, or premature death of all living beings, are predetermined by fate or heavenly mandate. The individual life is powerless and can only go with the flow of destiny. For the myriad of living beings, the view of fatalism is accurate. Everything is predestined, and not a bit is up to us. One cannot choose the environment and era of one's birth, cannot choose one's parents, race, or nationality. There are 18 factors in life that one cannot manage by oneself. This is fate, and one can only resign to it. The Tao is a kind of program, a perfect operating mechanism that no person or force can resist. one can only follow it. The Earth can only revolve around the Sun in the solar system, and the Moon can only orbit the Earth. This is the fate of the Earth and the Moon, and they have no choice but to follow this path. Spring is for growth, summer is for maturation, autumn is for harvest, and winter is for storage. A peach tree can only produce peaches, and an apricot tree can only produce apricots. This is the fate of plants, and they can only be as they are. Fish can only live in water. Big fish eat small fish eat shrimp, herbivores eat grass, carnivores eat meat, cats catch mice, dogs guard homes, and a pig's fate is to end up in the slaughterhouse from birth. This is the fate of animals. It is inevitable. Humans experience birth, aging, illness, and death. As humans, one cannot escape this cycle of life and death. This is fate. Every life form has its own trajectory of existence and development, determined by a program, which is not allowed to change at will and is difficult to alter by oneself. This is fate. The entire universe, including countless beings within it, is organized according to a program. It can be said that everything is acting out according to a script. Each life form, each person, is a character predetermined by the script and can only act according to its plot. When to be born, when to die, when to gain wealth, when to fall ill, when to suffer calamities, when to become an official, and so on. All is pre-planned. This is fate, and people can only follow it. Who can escape this inevitable fate? Very few can manage it. Actors must perform according to the scriptwriter's script and the director's requirements. When crying is needed, they must cry. When laughing is needed, they must laugh. When anger is required, they must be angry. When joy is needed, they must show joy. Even the words they speak are pre-designed and beyond their control. The world is a grand script, and people living in this grand script are merely characters within it. Who is the protagonist? Who is a supporting actor? Who is an extra? When someone appears, when someone exits, all is planned out. Although people may not feel this, and each person may feel that everything is their choice and decision, in reality, all our words and actions are already arranged. Many things, even if one is unwilling, must be done. Some words, even if one does not wish to say, must be spoken. The person who gave birth to us, we must call her mother, not grandmother or sister. Since it is a script, time does not exist. When we read a novel from start to finish, the characters and plots in the novel are vivid. When we reach page 80, we say that page 80 is the present, the pages before are the past, and the pages after are the future. However, if we shuffle the order and flip randomly, any page can be the present. If we put the novel aside for years and then read it, the characters and plots remain vivid and are still the present. Thus, the issues of past, present, and future do not exist. As humans, we feel that this moment is the present, today is today, yesterday was yesterday, and tomorrow will be tomorrow. In fact, as readers of the script, we can see our future conditions. The reason we cannot see tomorrow's situation is that we are confined within the script. We cannot return to the past or advance into the future because we are humans, not gods. As humans, we are not allowed to know the script's content. Knowing it would disrupt the program and cause chaos in the universe. The people may be made to follow a path of action, but they may not be made to understand it, which reflects compassion for humanity and the requirements of the script. However, there are exceptions to the rules. The heaven's net is vast and wide, yet nothing escapes it, but it also makes exceptions. For 98% of life, everything unfolds according to the script. For 1 to 2% of life, exceptions are made. This is also part of the program. In special circumstances, some actors may no longer play their roles in the script, and the director will replace them with another actor to continue the script's plot. Human sages have continually explored the mysteries of life, time, and space, showing us a bright and splendid path. The path guided by Jesus Christ leads to the kingdom of heaven. Although Jesus did not explain it, following the path he guided can free one from the constraints of the fixed program and enter the greatest creator's kingdom. Buddha Shakyamuni's teaching to let go of ego and attachment also guides us to cross the sea of suffering and reach the shore of Buddhahood. Muhammad also told us that with the help of Allah's, the greatest creator, power, one can escape the confines of heaven and earth and enjoy life in paradise. Laozi pointed us to the path of long life and eternal vision. High spiritual beings like Seth also teach us that through cultivation and practice, we can transcend the pre-written program and create our own life's space and time. The wisdom of Osho, combining reality and Zen, inspires us to break free from inevitability and enter the kingdom of freedom. All phenomena give rise to the mind, and the mind transcends all phenomena. The mind arises from the environment, and the environment is created by the mind. For the myriad of living beings, everything is predestined, and they can only follow the mandate of heaven. Because you are ordinary mortals, you fundamentally do not understand the nature of humans, life, time, and space. You can only obediently play the roles designed by the program. For those with little wisdom and little faith, you have only a bit of cleverness. You may occasionally have moments of clarity, but most of the time, you are confused and muddled. You do not have enough wisdom and energy to escape the inevitable constraints of the program, so everything is also fate. One must not only know what is so, but also understand why it is so in order to find a breakthrough and a path. Those who understand why and then take action can enter the path, walk out of it, and enter a broader realm of life. Just as those who understand computer programs can change them, those who understand the mysteries of life and life can change their fate and enter a broader world to enjoy a freer and more joyful life. One must think unconventionally to escape fate. Busy yourself with what others consider idle, and be idle in what others consider busy. Since 98% of the masses live their lives according to fate's program, their life and trajectory are already written in the script. To escape the confines of heaven and earth, to break free from the constraints of the 3 realms and the 5 elements, and to enter the kingdom of freedom, one must absolutely avoid resonating with the masses' way of thinking and consciousness. One must act against the path, be afraid when others are not afraid when others are afraid. Be busy when others are idle, idle when others are busy. Dislike what others like what others dislike. Laugh when others cry, cry when others laugh. The path guided by the Life-Genuine Guide goes against fate and humanity. It requires people to first acknowledge fate, understand fate, and then transcend fate. Recognizing fate is easy, but transcending fate is not. This requires chaotic thinking, a thorough understanding of life, time, and space, a detailed grasp of the program and the script, and knowledge of the methods to transcend fate. Otherwise, no one can escape fate. Relying on luck is absolutely hopeless, and blindly rushing around will never find the gate to heaven. For the gate is narrow and the way is hard that leads to life, and those who find it are few, because there are mysteries and methods within. In conclusion, for 98% of the masses, everything is driven by fate. For the 1 to 2% of Life-Genuine members, everything is driven by knowledge and the mind. Let me tell you again. I have the methods to transcend fate and time and space. 逃离生命的陷阱. Escaping the Traps of Life, the Chapter of Wisdom, Article 54. Dayform Buddha. August 18, 2006. The universe contains 36 8-diagram arrays, and life is filled with countless traps. Only by escaping these traps can one achieve freedom in life. Everyone yearns for paradise and wishes to live a life like that in paradise. Buddhism speaks of the Western Pure Land, the Elysium world, but in reality, the Elysium world exists in the East, South, and North as well. The question is, how do we reach these paradisiacal worlds? Let me guide you step by step. First, we must recognize that our inability to reach the Elysium world is due to our entrapment in the pitfalls of life. These traps are like prisons that confine our freedom. If we do not escape these life traps, we will never reach the Elysium world. Many of us have likely experienced this. When watching war scenes on TV or in movies, the scenes may evoke our emotions, but our suffering and fear are not as intense as those depicted because we are not actually involved in those life-threatening situations. For instance, the South Asian tsunami claimed hundreds of thousands of lives. Those directly affected suffered greatly, but those who were not involved would not feel as pained. If we were unaware of the tsunami, the deaths of so many people would not cause us distress. Similarly, if our neighbors are fighting, their quarrel is a complete mess, with threats of life and death as if the end of the world is coming. The neighbors are in great pain, but we are not as distressed because we are not caught in that life trap. Military service is a trap. Soldiers sent to Iraq, for example, become part of a deadly conflict. If you are not a soldier, you will not be sent to fight in Iraq. Once enlisted, you enter the trap of war, and once war starts, there is no escaping it. Marriage is another trap. Once you enter this trap, you are bound by endless household responsibilities, making it difficult to find peace. If one does not marry, they avoid the pitfalls of marital conflict and divorce, gaining relative freedom in life. Forming factions or alliances is a trap. Once you join a faction, you are bound by its constraints and controls, losing autonomy. Joining a political party is also a trap. Engaging in party politics involves struggles over interests and power, and you cannot avoid conflicts with other parties. You are forced to participate in political movements and organizational activities. If you are correct, it's fine, but if you make a mistake, you may end up shouldering the blame. Religion is another trap. As a believer, you must participate in various religious activities and endure repetitive moral teachings. In extreme cases, you might even be compelled to strap a bomb to yourself to carry out some so-called sacred mission. We can remain indifferent to the war between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon, but if we were Israeli citizens or Hezbollah members, we would inevitably have to contribute labor or even our lives to this war. Thus, nations are also traps. Once you become a citizen of a country, you are inevitably subject to its constraints. If we do not belong to any country, then the troubles of nations will not bother us. People often worry about the destruction of the Earth's ecological resources and are anxious about the future crises facing humanity. But if we were outside Earth, we wouldn't be troubled by such issues. Thus, the world of Earth is also a life trap. Imagine living in a paradise outside Earth, free from family, political parties, religions, nations, and factions. How would our lives be? That would be freedom, my comrades. That would be peace, my comrades. Humans bait fish with some sweet thing to lure them into traps. Once the fish takes the bait, it falls into the trap of life. Why do people marry? Because of the sweetness. Why join parties? Because of the sweetness. Why participate in religious or political groups? Because of the sweetness. Why love a country? Because of the sweetness. Why did the 7 celestial maidens descend to the human world? Because of the sweetness. This sweetness is the fragrant bait. Once taken, it leads us into the traps of life. Falling into these traps is easy, but escaping them is difficult. Much like how marriage is easy to enter but hard to exit, climbing mountains is easy but getting down is difficult, or starting a business is easy but closing it is hard. Hunters set traps by scattering food around them. Animals, tempted by the food, fall into the traps. Everyone wants to go to heaven, but how can that be possible? Some must remain human, some must be animals. Therefore, Satan must dig various kinds of traps to ensnare confused individuals. Once someone falls into a trap, they lose their freedom and cannot reach heaven. We must escape the traps of life. Many people from poor countries strive to reach developed countries. Once they escape, they free themselves from the constraints of their own country. Many fugitives escape to remote places because the sky is high and the emperor is far away, thus avoiding the risk of being captured and imprisoned. Reaching heaven is both easy and difficult. It depends on whether one wants to escape the traps of life. I have a special trick in my dreams: invisibility. Once I sense danger or feel uncomfortable in a certain environment, I immediately become invisible so that people or animals around me cannot see me. Sometimes, I even disappear completely, making it impossible for even deity celestial beings to find me. If you observe the events in each family from outside the realm of marriage, you will not be troubled. If you watch the dramas of religious and political parties from outside those domains, it can be quite entertaining. If you view the conflicts between nations from outside the countries, it is like watching a movie. If you observe the changes on Earth from the realm of the 1,000-year world, you will not be anxious. As long as you remain detached from events, you will attain a blissful heart. You may think I am too heartless and unkind, lacking compassion, right? But what about you? Do you save the countless livestock and poultry slaughtered daily, the numerous plants and insects dying? Do you rescue the lives lost in hospitals, homes, and under car wheels every day? I see you still eating and laughing every day. In reality, you too are heartless and unkind, lacking compassion. Who can change history? Who can change death? Who can change the evolutionary program of the Tao? We should not try to change these things. What we need is to escape the traps of life. Those who cannot save themselves cannot save others. Can a poor person provide financial assistance to others? Can a person in prison help fellow inmates escape? Of course, you can infiltrate the enemy's ranks to save someone or descend from heaven to the human world disguised as an ordinary person to carry out a plan. But no matter what, you must first be fully awakened. Once enlightened, it doesn't matter whether you are inside or outside of the family, party, religion, or country, as there is little difference. You can escape the traps of life at any time. Those already trapped must first escape mentally. As long as your spirit is awake and your heart is clear, you can gradually escape the traps of life. Forward to the chapter of wisdom. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qin Yu. Fame knows no bounds, business opportunities are limitless, learning is infinite, and wisdom is vast. Just as steel becomes harder with an increase in carbon content, people become wiser with the growth of wisdom. Knowledge is acquired, while wisdom is cultivated. Knowledge is a summary of experience. Wisdom is a product of thought. Knowledge represents the branches, twigs, and leaves. Wisdom is the fragrant flowers and abundant fruits. Archimedes used his wisdom to repeatedly thwart the powerful Roman army's advances. Bill Gates, through his wisdom, ushered humanity into the age of networking. The Buddha remains immortal through his wisdom, and Jesus shines with a divine halo because of his wisdom. Oh, wisdom! You are the symbol of strength, the source of wealth, the bridge to the mysterious, and the touchstone for distinguishing truth from falsehood. You are both the fierce storm and the bright spring sun, both the weapon of the devil and the arm of the angel, both the olive branch that transforms swords into plowshares and the smoke of war in times of chaos. A mind without wisdom is like a barren desert, pale and desolate. A mind with wisdom is like a beautiful landscape, full of splendor. Nature is mesmerizing and captivating due to its ever-changing phenomena. People are admirable for their rich wisdom. Seeking wealth is not as valuable as seeking wisdom. Wealth is lifeless, while wisdom is alive. Wealth may disperse when a person dies, but wisdom shines even more brightly upon one's death. Wealth can be stolen, lost, or robbed, but wisdom always accompanies its owner, illuminating their life. Wisdom is boundless and inexhaustible. By engaging in deep thought and research, wisdom emerges from all phenomena. Through meditation and reflection, wisdom can arise at any time and place. Wisdom can transform decay into magic, give wings to thought, serve as the lever to move the earth, and act as the rainbow spanning time and space. It is the warm sun in winter, the cool breeze in summer, the flowers of spring, the fruits of autumn, the oasis in the desert, the willows in the Gobi, the torch rising in the darkness, and the scattered islands in the vast ocean. People become great because of wisdom, broad-minded due to wisdom, rich in depth because of wisdom, and have a promising future due to wisdom. Conversely, people are impoverished due to a lack of wisdom, incomprehensible because of a lack of wisdom, drifting and unstable because of a lack of wisdom, and their life and life become dull and colorless without wisdom. The source of wisdom comes from the greatest creator. Only by following the way of the greatest creator can one cultivate boundless wisdom. Wisdom that benefits humanity originates from reverence for the greatest creator, reverence for life, and reverence for nature. Wisdom that harms humanity stems from selfishness, greed, and lawlessness. The chapter of wisdom is but a small wave on the ocean of wisdom. Like the chapter of Revelations, its purpose is to inspire the thinking of Chanyuan celestials, guiding everyone into the magnificent palace of wisdom, appreciating the vast gentleness of the ocean of wisdom, experiencing the expansive brilliance of the space and time of wisdom, and climbing toward the highest realm of life and life under the illumination of the light of wisdom. Along the way, Let us gather the pearls of happiness and extend our lives to the celestial islands continent of the Elysium world. 石头渡河, crossing the river as stones. Xiefeng. Translation edited by Qinyu. Under the golden sunlight, the sky was vast, with light clouds drifting and a gentle breeze blowing. A great river sparkled as it flowed slowly. To the east of the river lay a boundless sandy beach, barren and lifeless, with only a few foxes coming to drink from the river in the evening. Occasionally, a lizard could be seen scurrying across the scorching pebbles in search of food, and crabs would sometimes crawl ashore, glance around, and then quickly dive back into the water. On the west side of the river, the scene was entirely different. Instead of a sandy beach, there was a lush wetland filled with herds of cattle and sheep, cranes dancing in the sky, frogs leaping about, and fish and shrimp swimming freely. The river was the boundary, and the scenery on either side was as different as heaven and earth, utterly contrasting. Whenever a light drizzle fell, white mist would spread, or when the clouds reflected the setting sun and a rainbow appeared faintly, a young stone on the eastern shore, named Shirtu, would fall into deep thought. He longed for the scenery on the other side and was tired of the lifeless sandy beach where his family had lived for generations. He wanted to go to the other side, to enjoy the beautiful scenery on the west bank. One day, a torrential rainstorm mixed with hail came pouring down from the sky, causing little Shida's back to ache. He could no longer bear it and began to run wildly on the sandy beach, shouting as he ran, "I want to go to the other side! I want to go to the other side!" After the rain stopped and the sky cleared, everything became tranquil again, but the sandy beach was in an uproar. Someone has a wild idea of going to the west side. Poor child, he must be crazy. Ignorance, sheer ignorance. What foolishness! This guy's brain is not normal. He should be sent to a mental hospital for treatment. Whose child is this? How can he talk such nonsense? He should be locked up in prison. We can't let him confuse people with his wild talk. We need to strengthen basic education, or the order of this great sandy beach will be disrupted by such delusional people. Finally, the ancient stone on the beach spoke up. We must hold a grand assembly for all the stones on the beach and invite our esteemed and wise scholars to educate the younger generation and save them from these